Taking us live. People can see
There's
us.
2 in Persona 5, so
It's true. There's a lot of best girls in Persona 5. Hey everybody,
girls that I dumped.
and a lot of girls that you dumped, Tony. You're horrible. We are not doing bonus content this week. We're actually going to go right in the show. Sorry if that is a disappointment to anybody out there. It sounds like we've all had a long week. Oh, Jurge, you had not a long week. You graduated.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Again, my back weeks. The back
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
A lot better.
That's good. I'm glad the back end was better. And you played video games, so now you're ready.
Kind of,
You're
sort of, yeah.
I do want to say congrats to Ian Purcell. He's getting married right now. So congrats to our friend.
Right now?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Today. Not probably right at this moment, but today.
Oh, yeah, because he was on OKPs earlier.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh.
Probably not this second, but today. I know because I asked him last week if he wanted to come on the show this week. He's like, I'm getting married that day. I'm like, oh, well.
Yay, Ian.
Congratulations. Cool. Let's get this bad boy started. It is Saturday, May 18th, 2019, and you are listening to the Irrational Passions Podcast. I'm Alex O'Neill, your host this evening on this podcasting adventure that we have embarked upon together, holding hands like loving siblings. And joining me this week, we have Mr. Tony Horvath.
Said it.
Brian Nobishin Jackson.
When Helen died, I lost everything until that dog arrived on my doorstep. A final gift from my wife. In that moment, I relieved some semblance of hope. An opportunity to grieve on alone. And your son took that from me. Stole that from me. Killed that from me. People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really given an answer. But yeah, I think I'm back. So you can either hand over your son or die screaming alongside him!
I need to watch that movie.
It sounds like this is a John Wick quote, which I'm not
It's a
familiar
John
with.
Wick, yeah.
That is a John Wick quote.
But it sounds
But
alright.
I'm thinking I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah. And joining us from the editorial side this week, we've got Mr. George Cruz. Hi, George.
Me gusta jugar videojuegos.
Video Juegos. Are we officially dropping the Alvarez from the branding?
I don't fucking know, man.
You got to make a
I'm-
decision on this.
Do I?
No, you don't. I'm just teasing. George
Yeah,
Cruz
I think
Alvarez.
It's too late. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't know.
here's the thing. Just move to another country, change your name, and change your identity.
Got it. At that
Uh,
point, see, I could just go the other way and just go Jurgen and just piss everyone off.
it's me, Jurgen. I'm a very good boy. I don't know why Jurgen sounds like that, but I would say you got to embrace
It is German.
Yeah. No Sky Cuth here this week. He's knee deep in finals. But you know, hopefully he's doing okay. He seems stressed out. I'll be honest. But he's in at least relatively good spirits. We talked to him today, so. But we've got a good show for everybody. George is here. George graduated last week. Everybody, congratulations, George.
Yay!
Which mostly is exciting because now you're free to talk about video games.
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. And Nobishin has discovered that Shovel Knight is connected to all video game characters. So, honestly, it's going to be a good one, I think. Couple of things, just housekeeping-wise, I don't want to talk about real quick. On irrationalpassions.com, not currently up, but they will be. It's been a relatively slow week for us. We've been a little bit nose to the grindstone. Everyone's in a funk. But Sekiro written review will be up this week. I can promise you that. And a Sekiro review discussion that I did with Mr. Scott White will be up as well, which was great. I'm very, very happy with it. It's the first review discussion I got to be a part of, and I thought it went great. So look forward to that on irrationalpassions.com, of which Irrational Passions product is a product of, I should say. Irrational Passions Podcast is a product of. Too many P's. Too much plosives. George, I'm curious, of the content that we've put out in the recent, let's say, month or so, anything that might have slipped through the cracks for folks that you want to highlight, that you want to bring to everyone's attention?
In the last month and a half, I would say The World of Horror preview, I sort of just kind of did because I am incredibly terrified of my relationship with PR and just fucking that up somehow. And also because the game was worth talking about. That shouldn't have slipped through the cracks. And so I did a little more produced sort of spoken preview for the Irrational Passions Presents feed. But I don't know. I think it's sitting at like maybe a few listens, but I'm very happy with that one.
Cool. Yeah, and the Irrational Passions Presents feed has a bunch of cool stuff on it. Like the Sekiro review discussion is going to be up there. Got a couple other review discussions up there. There's a random trip to Shake Shack. Audio diary is up there.
I had to cut some stuff out because they may or may not have been cancelable worthy. I don't know.
Excellent.
It's gone now, though. It's all gone.
Yeah, gone to the ether. And we got some like a project we've been working on for a little while. It's about to all drop on that feed as well. I'm gonna just talk about it here because why not? We've been going through the best of Irrational Passions lists and kind of talking about each article on that list. We've been doing it for a very long time. It feels like.
Yep.
It hasn't really been that long, but it feels like it. It certainly feels like it. We just want to make sure they were all done beforehand. Been having really good conversations about some of like those old pieces. It's been really, really fun to reflect back on what the rest of the editorial team considers like my best pieces, at least for the discussions I was a part of. And also like talking to some folks about, where they're at in perspective wise with those pieces. Like I talked to Logan about his Oregon Trail piece. You can see the Irrational Passions best of list with the link on the front page or irrationalpassions.com/best of. It'll take you right there. It's good stuff there too. I'm really proud of that list. Let's get right into it. I want to talk to Tony about his games because he's been so anxiously awaiting talking about them.
What?
He texted me all throughout the week, just like, can't wait to talk about my video games. I'm so excited.
That's not true.
It's not true. But I want to know what you've been playing, Tony.
Man, you're going to be so excited when I tell you about Black Desert Online.
I live for this, and I know George.
Tony, I actually have a question about Black
Yeah,
Desert.
sure.
What the hell was that thing they announced at E3 last year during the Xbox thing? What was that Black Desert thing?
It came out on Xbox.
What
Yeah,
was it? It was not Black Desert Online, was it?
Yeah, it's the game ported to Xbox.
Was that all it was? Okay, 'cause
That's
it was
all
just
it
called
is.
Black Desert. It wasn't called like whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it's not like some strange single player experience, which would be a
That's what I
hilarious
thought it
train wreck.
was.
That would be good.
But,
I guess it's just called Black Desert on Xbox.
man,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it was like they paid a bunch of streamers to play it, and it was popular because it was a new thing on Xbox for like 3 weeks, and now no one plays it. I think, as is the fate of many RPGs ported to a console,
Yeah,
or
especially
MMOs rather
MMOs,
ported to
yeah.
a console.
It came out on Xbox One March 4th of this year.
Yeah.
Man. Tony, if we ever actually sit down and record content together, we should just see what the fuck that looks like.
I mean, it looks like. I don't know if that would make for good content. Is all I'm gonna say.
I don't know. I mean, we could at least spend at least 2.5 hours in that character creator, so.
Dude, did I ever send you a picture of fucking Drongo Nate?
Of course you did.
Nate's character, so fucking funny.
So funny. What's going on in Black Desert Online?
I wouldn't. It's been minimized in the tray for 2 weeks straight.
Is it just like auto clicking in the background?
No. So kind of. So there are many things you can do in Black Desert that are AFK, right?
Yes.
And recently, like I swapped characters off of the archer that I've been playing because it got boring.
Because fuck archers.
So I went back to playing Mystic, and I needed to get my Mystics like skill points and experience up. And they implemented a way in the year that I quit the game where you can do that AFK, where you purchase books that get like you can purchase like a 10-hour book, and then when you click on it, it gives you a buff for 10 hours that lets you interact with a training dummy. And if you do that, then your character just sits there and automatically trains for however long you have time for, and will gain experience and skill points by itself. So you don't have to actually do anything to get experience.
Jesus.
It takes much longer than if you were to do it manually, but
you don't have to do
okay.
anything.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last 2.5 weeks or whatever it's been since the fishing event ended, just straight hitting a dummy. Like I haven't touched the game other than to just I bought enough time to get my character to the maintenance, and then right after maintenance I logged back in, bought an entire week's worth of time, and had it sitting there.
Jesus. Is this how everyone plays Black Desert Online, or is this
No, I am very busy.
Okay. So it's just you that does this.
I mean, there are people doing it. Like, there's probably like.
Show me these people. Where are these people?
Okay, hold on.
Let me pull up my picture folder. I don't know, man. I just every time you talk about Black Desert Online, I feel like I'm peeling another layer of the onion back, and I think it's the biggest onion in the world, and I'm never gonna find the center.
All right, here's a picture.
Can I actually? I do want to create a little bit of a side tangent here, because George, you listen to this podcast. I don't know if you.
do.
I don't know
Every
if you
once in a
listen
while.
all the way through. But how enraptured by the Black Desert Online conversation? Is that like the number one reason why you come to the show?
I always find them somewhat interesting. It's always some fucking wild shit. I thought
It's like a look into a world that you have no idea about, right?
It really is.
So.
There was like a good row of episodes where I was listening to, and that was the part where Tony was gonna start playing Bless Online.
Yeah,
fuck, dude, that shit was
that was a minute ago. Yeah.
And then I started listening to it again like 2 weeks ago.
Nice. Yeah. I keep telling everyone else in the editorial team that don't listen to this show that I'm like, hey, like the show's really like I'm really proud of the episodes we've been putting out. George is like, this is good content. So I appreciate that. I see this picture, Tony. I don't really know what I'm looking at though. But I'm guessing it's just everyone hitting these training dummies.
So there are like 40 channels.
Yeah.
And on each channel, it's like a separate instance of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several towns in which people can interact with these dummies and can do that. So there's like probably like I'd say like 2,000 or 3,000 people that are currently AFK training.
Okay. That's enough
but if
people.
you look at this picture, if you look at it, like I'm the black and red one right in the middle.
Yeah.
And then all the other characters you can see on their own dummies, and it kind of just goes into the background.
Jesus.
And that's like people usually just do it overnight if they're going to do it. There are a couple.
You've been doing
like,
it for a week and a half straight.
Do it. Yeah, I haven't left that dummy for 2 weeks. But yeah, typically like once it gets like later on in the evening, there'll be significantly more people. Like all of the dummies will be full.
I'm both proud and disappointed in you.
Yeah, that's a fair thing to be.
Apparently, Black Desert just got on Game Pass like a week ago.
Okay, time to get in.
But anyway, I didn't actually mean to talk about Black Desert,
No,
but
you're
I've
good.
been AFK in that game for a long time.
What else have you been playing?
So actually, you know what? I'm kind of curious. Hold on a second.
I'm
gonna check what
open
my
this window for the first time in 3 weeks.
Yeah, right. I was curious what Steam says my current playtime of Black Desert is. Never mind, that's too high.
Yeah,
It's like it recently passed 10,000 hours.
Oh my god. I mean, like even that, you know, like it runs in the background while you're sleeping and stuff. Like,
yeah, that's still a long fucking time.
it's still too long. Okay, what else have you been playing?
Yeah,
today?
so I've been watching so much GTA RP that it's basically like I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't get into that because I could talk about that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. You should check out GTA 5 RP streams on Twitch. Shit's really fucking entertaining.
It's very popular, so
It is.
I'm sure our listeners have heard some of it to some extent.
There is a deal currently going on for Xbox Game that you can get 3 months for $1.
Yes.
So I spent $1, and we're checking out Sea of Thieves again.
Nice.
We haven't really had a chance to do it yet. They've added like enough stuff that I'm down to play for $1 for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know? So like me and a couple of the other guys picked up Game Pass for that time frame.
That reminds me, I should cancel my auto renew because I got jumped on that as well a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're gonna get in on that and sail around. Yeah, break out the fucking pirate legend. You know what I mean?
Let me know if you got an open spot.
Show them my reputation.
Yeah, I'll play for a night again. That was fun.
Oh yeah, dude. We got on like a couple days ago. We didn't end up being able to stay on because I had to reinstall the game because it kept crashing every time I alt tabbed.
Nice.
But there's some cool new stuff in there, man. You can catch fish and shit.
Whoa. You have a
And
fishing
you
rod or
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have never caught a fish. It's too hard for me.
It sounds hard. Is there like a little mini game for it or
It's very difficult. Yes, there's a mini.
Okay. That's cool. That's a cool addition. Seems like something that should have been there. But again, whatever.
Whatever, man. It's still it's cool. There's like 2 new reps to grind, a whole new like story that might take you to a new area on the map, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is a new area or not, and I think that there's a high chance of there being one attached to this content, but I just don't know. So I'm pretty excited to check that out at some point. We just have to like because I'm playing with someone who lives in Australia.
Yeah.
Plus my crazy work schedule and my other friend's crazy work schedule. So we're trying to figure out a time that we can play because back when we were actually playing Sea of Thieves, we had hella time. So we just played for like 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And now I do not have time to do that. So hopefully eventually, right?
Hopefully
also,
eventually.
I'm playing Persona.
Yes.
I gave up on PlayStation TV because it got annoying switching back and forth.
Yeah,
But-
that does get annoying.
Yeah.
I've had this issue with your Vita where whenever I'm in a section of the game that allows the camera to spin, it always spins.
Oh yeah, the right stick is a little weird.
Yeah, so I can't. I'm just running around and the camera is always spinning.
I think that's part of the reason why I only play Spelunky on it because it doesn't use the right stick, and I started using the PlayStation TV. I'll be real with you.
But I was very confusing for a while. I was like, "What the fuck am I?"
Yes, I remember this now because this happened to me. I don't know if it's completely broken or if it's fixable.
Yeah,
but I did.
The first instance of free camera in Persona is when you first like leave the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
For like on one of the first days, I got into the hallway and just kept fucking spinning.
Get
I was
vertigo.
like, what's happening, dude?
Narukami's got like a 6 spins. He's been drinking too much.
Yeah,
I think. I don't know how relatively permanent it is. I do now remember looking up how to replace the right analog stick on a Vita. Like I watched a YouTube video. I'm like, I'm not confident enough in my repair.
I think it's cheaper at this point to just like go to a thrift store.
Are you sure there's
buy one
not
for
some
20
lint
bucks.
in there or something?
Yeah, I remember. I think it's just busted.
So I feel like you could probably get a Vita for like $2 on Craigslist. You know,
Maybe or Facebook.
Costs like 80.
That's why the
Actually.
TV is like $100, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I'm keeping that thing. I'm keeping that thing locked until
yeah, for sure. I would say you might be stuck on the Vita TV,
might be, which is okay. I'm just gonna. I don't like playing like on a console with like from a computer chair. If that makes sense.
that does.
Like
make
I'm
sense.
sitting at a desk. I'm gonna use. I'm gonna do things with. I'm gonna interact with the things on the desk. I don't want to like swivel away from the desk and then like look at a thing across the room. That's not like less comfortable for me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait. I kind of want to wait until I buy some sort of furniture for TV viewing.
Yeah.
And then go for that. So we'll see what I end up doing if I
That-
just kind of like keep chilling with the Vita or whatever.
Yeah,
that PlayStation TV outputs at what 1080i.
1080i, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like beautiful, blown up. I can see the pixels.
Blowed
That's
out. I'd say like
That's how I,
Persona 4 doesn't look terrible on it.
No, but all the Vita menus,
Oh yeah,
they look real bad.
they look real bad.
it's bad.
Man, remember the
played that.
UI for the Vita? It's fucking
Yeah, it's all those
atrocious.
stupid fucking bubbles.
I never understood why people hated the bubbles so much.
Dude,
And
it's
they're like,
terrible.
when you open an app and you have to like, you close it, it pulls it out to like a piece of paper. That
Yeah, you
have
gotta like
tear
peel it away.
It's, it's
stupid.
so bad.
Stupid.
I still stay in it. It's all right.
All
That's what
right.
I gotta
I mean,
say.
I kind of like the peeling just because it's satifying to do, but
It's
the
not
bubbles,
satisfying when you're just holding circle for 2 seconds.
That is very true.
Man. It's very
It's like, let me just press circle and go back. Why do I have to wait?
That's very true.
Man. They're like looking back, it makes complete sense why the Vita
Also,
did very well.
That UI forces you to use the touchscreen way more than I want to.
Yes, agreed.
Because like I had to set up your Vita like 3 times when I actually set it up. Because we had to like fix your data stuff and then reset the whole thing so I could use Nabashin's shit to get my save data back.
Tony's a real G though because he fucking looked out for my save files.
Yeah, of course. I don't want you to lose your fucking Disgaea save file from 2014
This guy 3.
or whatever it was.
Oh, it was. Oh shit! It was some dumb
Fucking
JRPG.
Monster Mon
Wait, I'm
piece.
pretty sure I put a snarky comment in our text. So
Yeah, you absolutely said something fucking nasty to me, but it was funny.
I know you need this Dragon's Ground save.
Yeah,
from
that's right.
2013.
And I was like, hey man, I might get the remaster on PS4, so you never know. I don't even know if that fucking save's compatible. Probably
It
not.
does. It is actually.
Okay, cool. See? It was worth it, Tony.
Yeah, dude. And
That Monster Mon
I
piece
saved
save,
them
I
all,
think
so you're
deleted.
good.
I deleted myself, George, because I was trying to hide my shame.
everyone knows, dude.
6.5 out of 10. Irrational Passions.
Let me see what else. New Diablo 3 season started yesterday.
Nice.
We might end up playing a little bit. I started to play. We made a character, and then we me and the two guys who played the last season together. We started, and maybe 10 minutes later, I just almost fell asleep at my desk, and I was like, "Hey guys, I gotta go."
Yeah.
So then I went to sleep, and then I went to work, and then we might try and play tomorrow because I gotta sleep pretty soon after this too. Because I actually get the day off tomorrow. Thank God.
Nice.
So,
Finally. Get some
yeah,
sleep.
right. Jesus. I actually got shit to do tomorrow too. So
Ugh.
maybe not, but we'll see.
Anything else?
Video games. MTG Arena. Played that.
Okay. Any
Hit
Any
platinum
cool new
again
stuff?
for the season.
uh,
So I get all the free shit. I own all the new cards from the new set in MTG Arena,
mhm.
which is pretty neat. So I can basically just play whatever the fuck I want. But it's also kind of double-edged sword because if you play everything, you don't really get all that good at any of them.
Yeah.
So I just I played a billion different things to get done with ranked for the season, and eventually I found one that I liked. But I didn't I basically played probably 35 decks before that happened. So yeah, it was cool though. It's really neat to be able to just kind of play whatever the fuck I want. Hopefully they end up adding more things than just standard pretty soon, so that there's use for the cards other than just put a constructor deck together. You fucking idiot. See ya.
A little harsh, but yes, I hope so too. I don't know, I feel like Jarrett and Scott fell off of that, so I'm not sure where they stand with it.
Mm.
But I'm
The new
glad.
set's cool. I think it didn't shake up standard as much as I was hoping it to. So a lot of the more annoying things are still super annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of new stuff going on, at least for now, because the meta hasn't really been figured out yet. So it's been an interesting time to play some Magic. It's also nice being able to just pick that up, play for 10 minutes, and then close it, Or if I want to play for any time longer than that, jump into a best of 3 match, play for 35 minutes, and then decide what I want to do from there. It's kind of like a league game.
Yeah.
Except you're playing with one other person and asserting your dominance.
That's very sexual. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in a league match you can do that with your opposing laner if you're mid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's you definitely can.
That's the Tony Horvath move for me personally.
Yeah, it's definitely the move.
Yeah. Have you touched League of Legends in a while?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that next, but I was also gonna say I actually I have this tracker for MTG Arena now that basically just looks at all your games that you've played and can tell shows you if you won or lost, what you were playing against, and all that stuff. And it aggregates a lot of interesting statistics. And I found out from this thing after playing all of the ranks that I'm going to play for the month, which was 130 games or whatever, to get back up to the rank that I was last season to get the maximum rewards. That if I'm on the play, so if I get to play first, I win 74% of the time in ranked.
Okay.
If I'm on the draw, I win 48% of the time in ranked.
Okay.
So it's a huge difference.
Is that for everybody, do you think, or just you?
I know that. Okay, so in Magic, right? Magic is designed in a format that best of 3 makes sense. You get there's a dice roll for the first game. Whoever wins, or rather, whoever loses gets to choose if they go first or second for the second game, and 99% of the time they pick to go first. And then the third game, it's just whoever loses again. So you always get to play first and draw first, and then the other one's just kind of a toss up based on RNG. But yeah, it's there's always been it's basically always been 52-48 in favor of. But my statistics are 72 or whatever, 74% win rate on the, and 48% on the draw.
So you're much stronger if you go first.
I think it might just be my play style or the decks that I ended up playing the most just very much benefit from having the land advantage rather than the card advantage.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was super interesting.
That's a really interesting statistic.
That much higher.
Yeah. I like too that
and also, winning 3/4 of your games when you go first is also kind of insane.
Yeah, I like that the secondary statistic is the average, right? And then the other one is so much more. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's a fun tracker.
But anyway, I played some League. New Champion came out. It's fucking stupid.
How often do new champions come out now? For my point of reference,
I don't know. Probably like every 5 months, maybe 4 months.
Whoa, that's way different than the way it used to be. It used to be like every other week.
Yeah, they definitely really slowed down on it. And they also will pepper in champion reworks instead of adding new champions when they can. So they'll take some of the older guys, the ones that from 8 years ago or whatever that really need an update, and they'll update them and kind of release them as a new champion. Nice. But yeah, some new stupid cat champion came out. It's called Yumi. It's this dumb support that the whole idea is that it's a cat. It's literally a cat that rides a book. All right.
All right.
I'm not joking.
This sounds okay. I mean, you seem very angry.
It's the champion is bullshit. It's a whole thing is that you attach yourself to your teammate and you become untargetable. So you're just basically attached to them. So they walk around and you just automatically are attached to them. You can activate your abilities from where they're standing, and the enemies can't hit you. So
you're a cat.
You're a cat. Yeah. And it's stupid because you can't interact with the champion at all if you're on the enemy team. And it's not it's not really timer based. You can't I'm going to attach myself to this teammate for 10 seconds. I'm going to attach myself to this teammate indefinitely.
Jeez.
So, and during that time, like I said, you can't punish the character or whatever for doing anything. You can't target. So that whole idea of being, attached to more power than the champion should have in the first place, because they always do that with a new champion. They come out and they're more powerful than they're supposed to be, so people can learn how to play them. They literally say to improve new people learning the champion, we're going to make the champion easier and buff its numbers, and then they nerf them later.
Yeah, I don't
know.
So can you
all
still
these extra numbers and damage and shit, plus not being able to interact with the champion at all, just makes them fucking cancer to.
Can you still skill shot the cat?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. If they just become invulnerable, that's
You can. So if you kill the champion that they're attached to, then they pop. But you have to deal with twice as many skills being flown at you as you normally would fighting one person.
Jeez.
So plus she shields people and can jump between allies and stuff. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, League is fun.
More importantly, is the cat cute?
I don't know. You can decide that, I guess.
Okay. I will decide now. Yumi's the name, right?
Yuumi. There's a picture.
This up as well.
Yeah, gotta see. Gotta determine if that's a pretty cute cat. It's a very pretty cat, honestly.
Oh, this cat. Yes, I remember this cat. People were talking about
this cat that rides around on a fucking book.
That's cute, though.
It looks like this in the actual game.
Come on, Tony. Just like things. That's adorable. In game is very adorable. For listeners,
I just like how it has the dang bread. You do a little bread thing with her. That's lame.
What, she turns into a loaf of bread?
No, the cat head through the loaf, the slice of bread.
Uh-huh.
She's got that thing, I guess.
Oh.
So this is also the skin that came out with Yumi, and I get some weird Futaba vibes from it, and I don't know. I think it's the glasses.
Yeah, it's definitely glasses. That's a pretty epic skin, though.
It's like the fucking school principal Yumi. I'm like, it's a cat, dude. What do you mean? This is not my hero.
I love the scarf, though. Big win on that scarf.
Anyway, that's all.
That's all you're thinking?
Yeah.
Angry at cats. Fun statistics.
Yeah, I'm allergic to Yumi.
It's true. I'm allergic to this bullshit. Watching us live, Justin Graffius asks, "Has any of hi Justin, we love you.
Hi Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Has anyone on the IP crew played Plague's Tale yet, by chance? I've not. I think George, you'd
Oh,
be the only
no.
one.
Wait, what?
Plague's Tale. Have you heard of this
Like-
game?
This?
Plague Tale
Oh,
Innocence
is
or
this
whatever?
that one with Sean Bean?
I think it had Sean Bean. That sounds right.
Because that's the I've seen a lot of YouTube ads. It's just Sean Bean reading a monologue about his mom, and then like it goes into the game. I haven't. I heard it. It's gotten a lot of press. So
Yeah, I've not played it now, but
that's cool.
it seems
It's funny. It's one of the games that I like. It's kind of like a Life is Strange situation.
Mhm.
It was like it's one of those games where I just like I heard out of nowhere, like a week before it came out.
Me too.
And I saw
Yeah.
and I saw like a trailer for it. I was like, oh man, this game looks really cool. And then it got reviewed really good. And I was like, oh, I should really check it out. I just never got around to it. That's all.
Yeah, it's a similar boat for me. It sounds cool. There's another indie game called Observation coming out very soon that that would be the next one that I'm probably gonna check out. But I'll keep it in mind, Justin. I've not
How
necessarily.
much is it? Full price? It seems like a full price.
I think it's 40.
Yeah, I think it's 40. 40 sounds
Okay.
right at least.
I know those devs like were sort of like a support studio for the most part, so it's cool to see them finally put out their own game.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's a really cool idea. It's basically like avoiding the bubonic plague in England, like right in the middle of it. So it's a cool idea at the very least. It seems like a Justin kind of game. Maybe I'll say that much.
That's
George,
Yes.
let's talk about Rage 2.
All right, let's talk about Rage 2.
A game you've been playing and a game I've been playing. I want everyone to know that
7 years in the making.
7 years in the making.
Not really, but
The thought process behind me buying Rage 2 was very minimal. I saw somebody tweeting about how it was a good podcast game.
yeah.
It sounds like you kind of heard the same thing, George.
It's also very much a PS4 Pro game.
Is it? Okay, I'm playing on Xbox,
Yes.
so I'm not sure.
But you got X though.
I got that
good.
X. I don't know necessarily what the differences are. What brought you to Rage 2, George?
60 frames.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 60 frames on the upper consoles. It's 30 on the other consoles.
That's a bummer.
At 30 frames, that game seems a lot less interesting. I will say that.
Yeah.
Because the thing that got me too is the fact that you can see the id DNA in it. Like it looks like Doom. If you're not to like up from afar, it's like, oh, is that Doom Eternal? No, it's not.
That's a game I'm excited about, though.
Ooh, boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I think that this game sort of just it's like an appetizer.
Yeah, it
man.
really is.
It
really
play
is.
Doom.
Yeah, the amount of times I've thought, boy, I should be playing Doom right now while playing Rage 2
Yeah.
is pretty much the entirety of the 3 hours I played Rage 2 this week.
That's about how much I've played it as well, about 3 hours. But yeah, I think like when they revealed it, it wasn't really like the attitude of it. I think the colors sure help. Like it's very, very colorful, especially when you compare it to Rage. Like 2012 was like I feel like a lot of folks that dislike the 360 and PS3 generation, like I know some people, like especially the 360 like first party lineup, like they would describe it as the sort of like generation that was lacking in color in some of the AAA titles, like Gears of War specifically.
It's the Van Gogh Brown period of console games, you know.
And Rage like sort of capped off that generation, and it was sort of like the epitome of that. Like it was like the most brown world, but it was at 60 frames on a 360 and PS3.
Yeah, I mean, like technology-wise, Rage was such a cool game, and the way
technology at the time, yeah.
the way they got it to work, like the amount of times like I thought the words mega textures was probably way too much, but like, you know, their kind of marketing with it worked. And that game runs so good. It was like before Doom 2016, it was like the moment of like, man, they still got something in them, right? Like they haven't lost it completely. But then Rage is just so happens to be a relatively uninteresting video game.
Right. Like it's weird to like even go back to like 2017, like, or was it 2018? Yeah, it's weird to even go back to 2018 before E3 started. Like the concept of a sequel to Rage sounded fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
Like when that Walmart leak happened, it's like, well, that's so off the wall. That has to be fucking real. Like that's so weird that needs to be a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, for me, it was the fact that it looked like Doom. I thought it was coming out a lot sooner, but thankfully it didn't come out too close to Doom, so it still like serves its purpose as an appetizer for Doom. But now playing it, it's really neat that they're able to make sort of like the original Rage, that they're able to make a such a big, maybe a little empty, but it's very open world space at 60 frames per second with so much particles and explosions. Like, it's so colorful. That's what I've gotten from it so far. The story seems kind of meh. I don't know how you feel about it. And I think I know our friend Plankfan beat it in like 8 hours, like for the main campaign. So it's not very long. It also kind of opens up in a Breath of the Wild way. I know Brad on the Giant Bombcast said the same thing. It's like once you get to the little intro thing, it's like, oh well, there's 3 leaders. You can go talk to them to progress the story quest, but otherwise you can just fuck around.
I have like weird feelings about Rage 2, and I don't know where you're at with it, but there are like so many things in Rage 2 that are infuriating to me. Like,
really,
that not like really infuriating, but it's just like little things that really add up. Like when I'm in the menu, why is there like a full like second and a half delay?
Yeah, that's weird.
Input?
What happened there?
It's like anytime like UI, especially like a menu, is like not snappy. It's not. It's so terrible. It's atrocious. And for the amount of time and menus that they have in that game, it's like, in my opinion, unacceptable.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Like, it's weird. Like sometimes menus overlap each other. Like the pop-up menu will overlap like the other menu. Like it's very strange.
Super weird. And to be fair, right? Like I've been playing Persona 5 for the last couple of weeks, and that has like the best menus of any video game ever made. But on top of them, like looking great, like it's so snappy. Yeah. It is like, you hit down, it just goes down, and you can like do things and get through those menus so quickly. It makes me livid when I'm like, I just want to see how much I need to upgrade this shotgun, and I have to go through 3 menus, and all of them take like 8 seconds to load just to find it out.
It's so strange. I'm not a programmer or anything, but it feels the way like when you're playing a very intensive PS4 game, or like when you exit out and go back to the home screen and try to move around very quickly, and the PlayStation's like, oh, well, give me a second.
Wait, I gotta... Everybody chill. Yeah,
that's how it feels. Like just navigating the menus in Rage 2. It's bizarre.
Yeah, like, and it's the movement has a little bit of that to it, and I was like, honestly, I had a moment where I'm like, is there something wrong with my TV? Like, is there input latency going on right now? And there isn't. It's just like how it is. And to be fair, like I think the movement you get used to within a little bit of playing.
Yeah. I don't know if that's because it's like it's not Doom enough. Like it's like a few steps away.
Yeah, I think that might be a contributor for sure. It's like I think about who's making it, right? Avalanche, and I've not really played any of their games. Like I've played a very little bit of Just Cause 2 at one point.
Turned on Mad Max one time.
Yeah, I downloaded Mad Max. I think it was free with PlayStation Plus at one point. I downloaded it and then I deleted it without ever starting it. So that's about as much as I played of that. But like it's that is a part of it. And then like there's just zero reason why the world is the way it is. I feel like. And my kind of feeling behind that is early, like that opening mission is like it's kind of dumb, and there's a lot of that like over the top humor in it, but it's cool and it's a spectacle. Especially like big monster shows up. You're going through this kind of base. It's a little bit more guided. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it's a good opening for that game, and all told, it takes like less than 10 minutes to get through that mission. And then like you said, you go. A lady dumps like all of the plot of the game on you, a hologram does, and then it's like, okay, but now you can do whatever you want. And it's like, okay, I'll take that. But then it's just like I'm just driving for 8 minutes to get to.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like gave me Deadly Premonition vibes.
It's super like, and the thing about it, like it directly compared to Deadly Premonition, which is a really good comparison. It's just like there's nothing.
There's nothing.
There's just nothing in that world, and like. You go, like one of the first things you can do, you can go to this town and the guy's like, oh yeah, there's like, we got this, our pipes are clogged in our sewers because the mutants are trying to take over down there. If you clear them out, I'll help you out. And you go down, and when you're in the sewers, it's like a kind of more focused first person level, and it feels like a designed level that you have to go through. I'm like, this is great. Like, I really like this. And they go back up into the world, and it's like, well, this shit again.
Interesting.
And it, like, I don't know if you've done that mission yet, George, but
No, I haven't.
it was cool because the sewer level in particular is like there's a couple of different ways. Every time like I would go into a room, there's like 4 or 5 different kind of small holes or exits or hallways to leave with. So I was like, I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to go. And I felt like I was getting a little bit lost, but I ended up at the destination anyway. It's like, okay, cool. I could kind of go whichever way I wanted, and I got there, which I ended up really liking. I thought the way, and they introduced those mutant enemies, which I never really played Rage 1, but I remember like their movement and their AI was supposed to be kind of a little bit more dynamic to avoid gunfire and kind of come at you. And I definitely got those vibes from this. I was like, okay, this is still impressive to some extent today, and I like the way this level is built. But then I had to go back into the world, and suddenly I'm just kind of bored again.
Yeah.
But like as far as a game, because I kind of wanted an action game that was a little bit more casual after like Sekiro, and something that was a good podcast game, right? I've been in a podcast game kind of mood. I'm not necessarily ready to go full back into Destiny, and I feel like Destiny's gotten to the point where I have to pay attention enough that I can't necessarily be totally zoning out, because I got to kind of catch up and figure out what I need to do. So as far as like driving around, stop at a base, fight enemies, and get an upgrade, it certainly scratches that itch. And I think if ultimately that's all I end up doing with this game, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But I don't know. It's just like when you directly compare this kind of these more intricately designed missions to the open world, it's like the one is so much better than the other. And it makes me feel like maybe they should have just made this a mission-based game, you know? Which is what Rage 1 is, isn't it? Or was Rage 1 open world as well?
No, Rage 1 was open world, which is why it was so impressive that it was like 60 FPS open world thing.
Got it. I don't know. I don't know, how much have you like done? Have you just been exploring the world since you...
I've done like a few story missions, so I think I'm very early on, because when I watched the Digital Foundry and they were like doing like here's what it looks like in every like, oh yeah, I did all like that's all the stuff I saw, so I'm super early on if you guys were on this. Yeah, I think like, and you can see that some of that humor in terms of like the way like enemies interact. Like sometimes like you'll just catch them like doing a dumb thing, and then you like chop their head off or whatever.
Yeah,
like that stuff's fun, and like that's where that. I don't know. It doesn't feel as intense as having Andrew WK on an E3 show, on an E3 press conference saying, "Get ready to die, get ready to die." Like, it's kind of like
not living up to that hype, you know?
No, it's not that exciting. Like, there are like blips of it, and like it's certainly colorful and eye catching.
Yeah,
but
even still, I feel like it's not as colorful as I thought it was gonna be.
It's not, but like when it sticks out, it looks real fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that pink sunset goes a long way.
Yeah, I like the abilities. Like the kind of first thing you get is this dash, and I don't know if there was really an equivalent in Doom. There was, I think.
Well, because in Doom that would be like, oh, I'm gonna punch this guy, so you would just jump like automatically.
Yeah, and you lunge to them. Yeah, and you kind of get something like that in Rage 2 as well. It's like a pulse that you can map to the X button when you hold the left bumper. But this dash kind of gives you this lateral movement all the time, and that's pretty cool. Like the way they tutorialize you on it is you can like dash to dodge rockets, and I thought that was cool. But
right, yeah.
So every time you get like a major upgrade, they're typically from these arcs, which are essentially like astronaut pods from a long time ago, I guess. I don't really know what the fuck's going on in this story. But the thing is, they make you do this tutorial every time. Like they go to like a training room.
In a white room, yeah.
Yeah, and they make you do this tutorial. And I got a shotgun, and they're like, all right, time for the shotgun tutorial. And I'm like, yo, I fucking get it. You don't need to. This is not necessary. And there's like a whole thing, like if you're aiming down sights with a shotgun, it does like a forward pulse, which shoots enemies, like throws them backward. So sure, But you could have just told me that in a tooltip. Like, I don't need this whole.
Right.
It's like
we don't need the fucking Bayonetta pause and do the thing. Yeah.
It's
Have you played that yet?
Yeah,
No, I haven't.
Yeah, George, how's that
We
going?
can have a conversation about that. I think I've come to some terms with me, but we're on Rage 2. I have some thoughts about Devil May Cry 5.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
We'll cross that bridge in a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like weirdly over tutorialized in a moment in moments, and it's weird. Rage 2 seems like a weird game. I'm enjoying my time with it.
Better than Mad Max from what I can tell, but in the same time, it's still kind of a 7.5, maybe even a 6. I think yeah, it's very middling, and at times like it comes like I'm good. I don't know. And that's ultimately where I found myself. Like, I don't think I need to play more Rage 2.
And I'll say this, like, I'm definitely spoiled, and we all are, on great games because there's so many great games right now.
Yeah.
But when I went into a settlement in Rage 2, and there are a bunch of, like, NPCs walking through, and half of them are just generic guard, and like you can kind of talk to them, and they'll just spit out a generic piece of dialogue. And then there's like one vendor, and he's not marked on the mini map. He just kind of has a symbol above him. And I wasn't sure what I needed to do to make it so I could buy and sell from the vendor. Still not sure. I did something though. And I just walked through like the town like that. I'm like, man, this is so lame. I typically am not this harsh on games, and I hate to come down so hard on it, but it is genuinely how I felt of like, there's so many games, even something like Final Fantasy 15 has made walking through a town of the 2 towns in that game super interesting, and visually, like, you get a lot of variety when you're looking around. And I'm walking through this one of like 6 towns in this game, and then everyone is kind of like, half of every person in the town is generic guard number 1, and they don't say anything, and it's like it feels like a 2009 game in those regards, and it's super weird. I just like, and part of it is colored by the Rage Twitter account like going after people and me being like
committing to that bit too.
Yeah, committing way too hard to a bit that's 1, not funny, and 2, not justified. Because if this is the game that you are going out on a limb for, I just cannot fathom why you would be so aggro about this. It's just everything about that infuriates me in some little way. You know, I know that's like overtly like very negative, but
I feel like Avalanche in general is in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, there was a good time after Just Cause 2 where they're like, oh, they're the Just Cause 2 people. And before Just Cause 3 came out, they're like, yo, whatever they make next, like a lot of people are like, I'm there. Just Cause 2, fucking incredible. And then Just Cause 3 came out and was sort of a mess on consoles. Like, that was like, 2015 was like the peak. Oh no, the PS4 and Xbox One are maybe not as powerful as we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out like you saw something like Horizon Zero Dawn and like God of War running on a base PS4 and it looks fucking incredible.
Yeah.
But you know, that came out, and then Mad Max came out, and they made another Just Cause, and now they made this, and it's all been like meh. And I don't know what the future of that studio looks like. I think Rage 2 will probably do fine, but the technology wise, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like,
and I do think it feels really good. Like, the shooting feels good, the guns feel good, the shotgun feels good.
It has a roadmap for like free updates as well. So
yeah. I think they're doing stuff with it. Oh, where are you laughing at, Nabashin? Roadmaps, sure, yeah. Yes. All right. It feels good, and it's fun to play. It has the moment-to-moment satisfaction. Like, it scratches that itch that I needed it to scratch. So I'm not, like, I don't want to say I'm disappointed with it, because I came in with a pretty low expectation. You know, I knew what I was getting myself into, but I don't know. Like, this is not a game I would normally play, just because like it didn't necessarily grab me, or maybe I'm out here looking for 8s and 9s and 10s, and I don't know if Rage 2 even necessarily wanted to be that. It seems like it's kind of embracing where it is and what it is, which I like. But just like there are things about the design of the game that just feel weirdly archaic and odd and silly.
Yeah.
It's a game about perspective, man.
Yeah, it honestly, I'll be real with you, Namashi. I know
Yeah,
you'll,
say, aren't you like at least happy that you played it? Just like you get the perspective.
Part of why I just bought it, I was like, I just got to play something that's not a 10 right now, and
Exactly.
and it's good. It's good to have that, like it,
Mhm.
and those like swimming in sevens, right? It's the Michael Huber motto, but it's those games are still good in their own way, and they reinforce what you like about the 10s and the 9s and the 8s out there. And like I said, the core of Rage 2 is so fun that, you know, it's not like I regret it or anything. I just like looking at this game and thinking about the culture that they've created, like PR wise that they've created around it, on top of like everything about it. It's just weird. It's so weird. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
I like how one Jeff Gerstmann described it as under the top.
Under the top
instead of over the top. It is severely under the top.
That's very good. Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what people want out of video games. Like as like the norm, like the consumer who isn't like person who's logged into everything and knows that there's something that's going to be a 10 coming up. Like I don't know. So like Mad Max did fantastic financially and critically. It was like again swimming in sevens, but.
Yeah,
I'm glad it exists. I'm glad Avalanche was able to get work and like certainly at least flex that technology muscle and work with id. Having that connection with id is great. They should make a new Quake, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, they should.
They just put out a Quake. Somewhat.
Yeah, like
didn't they like quietly unput it out? You know, they like took it down. I feel like no one's talking about Quake Champions at all. I don't even know if you can still download that game. I'm sure you can, but
probably. But that's the net.
I didn't mean to totally monopolize that time on Rage 2 though, George. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, that's nope. That's all I got.
What else have you been playing, bud?
Me? I have been playing. I guess I should get.
You got some games on this list.
Yeah, I got some games on there. So I'll talk about this mobile game I've been playing. I played at PAX and got sent it a little bit early, but didn't find the time to play it. It's called Alt Frequencies. This is by the developers who made a normal lost phone, and another lost phone, which are mobile games that take place like within the like UI of a telephone, and you would sort of trying to figure out the story by looking through people's photographs and messages and such. And this next game continues to use that gimmick of like, oh, you're messing around with a piece of technology, like with a phone. And this one's about radios. So the game, it's a narrative-based game where a lot of the story is told through these different radio stations. And each of them has different personalities and different tones. You know, like here's the like top 20, whatever the heck. Here's like the NPR news equivalent. Here's the sort of maybe a little bit controversial radio station. Here's like the college radio station. And like the main like sci-fi sort of story of the game is that there is the like pretty much the government is trying to is messing around with time manipulation, and specifically they were sort of like trying to insert like what are the positives of sort of doing a time loop and sort of like resetting time. So really I don't understand like in terms of lore why would the government invest in this, but that's the situation we're in, where a lot of the people government wants to put like this sort of time manipulation thing where like time resets every once in a while. In terms of a mechanic, it plays well because it gives you the opportunity, like each of these conversations are all playing at the same time. Like when you turn the dial, like a conversation doesn't stop just because you turned the dial. So if you miss something, this time loop in gameplay works like, oh, it'll reset and you get to listen to them again. You have the ability to record snippets of conversation, send those snippets of conversation to other radio stations. And the goal of it is to sort of manipulate and change like where the conversation is going by using the sort of clips you've gathered from other people. Like you could listen to like this sort of like crazy podcast, like, the time loop is fucking up our minds, guys. I'm feeling it right now. My brain's cooking. And then you'd like send it to the NPR people. It's like, this is interesting. What do you think of the fucking time loop cooking people's brains? And I was like, well, I think that's nonsense or whatever the heck. And then that would change the story. It's an interesting concept. I'm not there. Well, I guess I don't know how long the game is. It's really neat concept. I think the main thing that's sort of like I take quick breaks of it because I get a little bit uninterested with it is the fact that when you're trying to find, because only specific pieces of dialogue will advance the storyline. So it's sort of trying to figure out where this puzzle piece fits in and trying to find even the puzzle piece and then finding the space where it goes in can be frustrating at times.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Ghost Trick.
I don't even know. I don't know anything about Ghost Trick apart from like the characters and the dog.
Rocket.
Rocket. Yeah, that's a cool dog. That's all I know about
that. Do you know if this game has like an ending? Because this sounds like her story to me.
It does sound like her story. It's not as gripping as her story. But yeah, I think that's the thing I kept thinking of. Like, this is a lot like her story, except I like her story a lot better. And I think that and I think part of her story helps is like you get that visual. Like there's no like it's just like audio and then like subtitles for the audio.
Yeah.
So because the performance in that game really, really helped.
The thing that hurt the puzzles in Ghost Trick the most, from what I remember, is like the specificity of them. Yeah. Essentially, like it's a similar deal, only like you're in a locked room. At some point, though, you can like go to different locations and you have to kind of go back and forth. I think. In Ghost Trick, and there's like a timeline playing out, and then it rewinds time if you fuck up or if you don't do the right thing, and it will just like kind of go and go and go until you find the very specific thing that you need to do. And the later puzzles in the game just got very, very specific, which hurt it more because you're sifting through either minutes or seconds or like large chunks of time where you're seeing multiple things happen. And you either have to do everything in the right order, do everything, rewind, and then now that you've done that, it will happen, and then you can do another thing, stuff like that.
Gotcha. And like in here, it's sort of like the story is like when I played in PAX, I was like really gripped by the concept, but I couldn't decipher what the narrative like push of the game would be. And now that I have time with it, again, I'm not sure how far I am in it, but that hook hasn't happened. So I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not really invested in any of these characters or like the world that's happening in it, or something like a normal Lost Phone and another Lost Phone. I was sort of interested from the get-go through that voyeurism. And then once I got to learn the character behind like this phone, I was like, oh man, this is fucking great. But here I'm just kind of playing it and it's not gripping me. And that's as much as I can say about it because I haven't finished it. Okay. But yeah, that's all frequencies. It came out yesterday.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I think the most impressive thing about it, and it was when I talked to the developer, is that it's certainly more ambitious. Oh, it's an ambitious project compared to what they did before, which is all text. But this one is like in multiple languages and it's branching, and there's just so much like voice actor. Like it's pretty much a game lifted through the writing and the work of the voice actors, and the fact that it is in like 6 to 7 languages, and it's pretty impressive. And that's probably the coolest thing about it, really, that I thought. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe eventually, maybe it will grip me. I don't know how long it is, so yeah, that's all frequencies.
Do you want to get into this Devil May Cry thoughts? Just get this off your chest.
Yeah, let's just get it out. So, man, I've come to a point. I'm 25 years old. My name is Jurge Cruz Alvarez. I played Devil May Cry 3 on the PlayStation 2 as one of my favorite games of that generation. I feel like I'm at a point where I need to be true to myself, and I don't think I like character action games anymore.
No,
it's all right, dude. It's A-okay.
Yeah.
Have you played Sekiro?
I haven't yet, but that feels like an evolution of the genre.
It's a very much a new kind of corner of the genre that they cut themselves into. But yeah.
Because I'm playing Devil May Cry 5, and I think literally right down, I'm at Capcom, like Capcom's kind of on fire, but like, man, guys, I think this Monster Hunter thing is working out. I know Street Fighter was bad. I know Marvel Champion was bad, but listen, I think these Resident Evil games are going to be okay. I think we're good to greenlight a Devil May Cry game. I'd be like, all right. We can't play this serious at all. We have to be like incredibly cheesy. It's got to have everyone's here, like we got to have the dumb sound effects when you hit that fucking the first hit OK to confirm about whatever the heck that it first asks you for, and you hear those sound effects, it's like, all right, cool. Devil May Cry, love it. It hits every mark, and for some reason, it is not grabbing me. It's not that I think it's lame or anything, and this could be because I have it on auto. So this also could be that. But
I don't know what that means, but okay.
So like Nabashin, do you know what I'm talking about in terms of like the auto? Okay, yes. So there's like an option that lets you it's sort of like when there was those fighting games on like Vita and 3DS where like, oh, you can press the buttons on the touchscreen and it would make like a combo.
Okay.
So it like takes off a few steps of the way to make a move. So it's got a little bit easier, but at the same time, it sort of removes a little bit of the challenge of it. It makes it feel less like I'm stringing these moves together and more like I'm stringing like two moves. Like it's pretty much just making it a little bit easier in terms of mechanics.
Got it.
But that could be it also. But then I played Bayonetta 2 for a few minutes and I dropped that. And I haven't played Bayonetta yet. And I started Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, and boy, that intro is fucking awesome. But I stopped playing it. So maybe I need to look inside myself and look at that.
Look at your truth.
I think I don't like these games. I made it up to chapter 8 with V, or no, chapter 6 with V of DMC5. And yeah, I don't know. I want to see the set pieces. I think it looks fucking fantastic. Soundtrack's great. I'm glad it exists. I don't know.
It's just not hitting the buttons for you.
It's just not hitting it.
I think there's no shame in that.
No, like the way you're saying this, like it reminds me of that Kotaku article from a long time ago, where it's like, I don't think I like Okami, or like I bought Okami 5 times, and like I still have.
I remember this article too. That was Brant Range for the longest time until I convinced him to finish it, and he was like, "It was good." I'm like, "God damn it!" Yeah, I get it,
but. Yeah, there's no shame, man. Like I think you are kind of past it, honestly.
I'm just ashamed of myself because it's such a because I want to root for it, and I still am. But
like Nier Automata is one of your favorite games of all time.
That's
so, like,
the other thing is like I love.
So is
Nier.
it like, do you want just more from the genre? Is it like
maybe
you need like more of a gripping story instead of these cheeseball stories?
That might be it. That might be it also because like you're right. Like, and I love the cheeseball because it's so. I think Devil May Cry 5 found it and like is able to do it in a way that like, yep, this is exactly like the level, and you're walking that right line of like being self-aware but also not rubbing in my face so much. Like you're living your truth.
Yeah,
like that fucking song, like everything. That's what got me so excited.
Pull my devil trigger,
trailer,
baby.
that song's like, yep, I'm fucking in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know if Mike has played Devil May Cry 5 yet? I feel
he did because he previewed it, right?
He did preview it. I know he's excited about it. I don't know if he got around to it though. Maybe he did. But yeah, I don't know. I think like I feel like I might have gone through not an entirely similar thing, but a somewhat similar thing with like the Wolfenstein games, where it's like I feel like, or in Nier Automata to some extent, where I played it and it just didn't click, you know. And it's one of those things where I'm happy that this exists. I'm happy that people like this. But I do not, and I don't necessarily know why. Like especially with how much I love Doom, I feel like I should, and I've had this conversation with Nabashin like 1,000 times. I feel like I should love the Wolfenstein games, like they're core first-person shooters, but like just everything about them like feels so like the components of them don't click with me. Like the humor of Wolfenstein, and then the visceral gore of it, and the kind of like realness of it to some extent, just. They are too juxtaposed for me, right? They just the juxtaposition creates a contrast that is unsettling and it makes me uncomfortable versus like, oh yeah, I love this. Like these two weird diametrically opposed concepts are just working in tandem, and I don't know. I never thought that. I never got that from those games. To the same extent of like, I played Nier Automata and I didn't love it, and I was like, man, I really wanted to love this game. And I've talked to you about that, Jurge. And it's a thing of like, I liked Nier Automata and I liked the time I spent with it. I don't regret it to some extent.
But it ain't Nier, boy.
But it isn't the original Nier for me, which is like such a fucking weird thing. Like the worst thing I did for that game is the thing I do with all games that usually works out, where I played the first one before I played the second one, and then it made it worse for me. My own bullshit backfired. I'm just saying, I should take me as a warning. Take me as a cautionary tale. It can not work sometimes, but yeah, I get that. The thing is, like, you tried, George, and you never tried with Bayonetta.
I think.
Oh, you fucking piece of shit. No, no, I get that. This is an honest, safe place for you. Okay, it's okay.
I still listen to that song when I work out, though. So,
okay. So you're just a hypocrite. I get it. What else you got? You got some games on this list. What have you been playing?
Yeah, I'll go through these other ones quickly, so I can check along. But Avengers Endgame is a motion picture that I saw, and I enjoyed a lot more than I'm not the biggest Marvel guy, but I thought that movie was fucking great.
Yes.
And it made me think about like how Marvel games, which Marvel games there have been, and the legacy of them. And I realized, oh, hey, I have a PS2, and also I wanted to see what 480p on a PS2 actually looked like. In the Incredible Hulk
for
Ultimate
no
Destruction
reason
by Radical Games outputs at 480p. And it's also a Marvel game, not based on an MCU, but it's definitely the best Hulk game. And so I played that last night, and that game holds up. It holds up real good.
I want to believe that. I loved that was like a GameFly game with me, which I feel like is the appropriate way to play Hulk Ultimate Destruction. And I don't know if you remember like the Hulk movie game. I played a lot. Now I'm thinking about it. I played a lot of
like the Eric Bana one.
Eric Bana one with the bad stealth sections. Game. It's real terrible. I played a lot of movie games for no reason. And yeah, Ultimate Destruction's great. That boss fight at the end is great.
Yeah. It's impressive how smooth it runs compared to like on a PlayStation 2 and like Xbox and GameCube. Mm-hmm. Like it holds up. Like the amount of shit that's going on in that game, and like the way how quick that guy runs and how spry the Hulk is in that game, it's really impressive.
Yeah, you just get around in that game.
Just move, man.
There's nothing stopping you. You just run up buildings. It's fine.
It's always a problem because there's like missions like rescue these civilians. Like I just kicked them like up to the fucking Hudson. Like, it's gone.
Whoops. Yeah, and that takes place in like Nevada or something, right?
I think like parts. Yeah, I think so. Because like there's a desert.
I remember there's a desert.
But anyways, that's all I gotta say about Incredible Hulk. I may buy some of the fucking Sega MCU games because I never played them, and I'm morbidly curious. I heard Captain America: The First Avenger is the best game they made out of that series.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Yeah, I know the Iron Man game is hot trash.
Yeah. But maybe that makes it better, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and through this journey, side note, I was like, man, I'm gonna watch old reviews for these games, and I saw some of the old game trailers reviews, and I like those graphics still a lot. Those like little transition graphics,
yeah,
very good.
Yeah,
I guess
I liked all like the weird blocky backgrounds.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought that was cool. Man, I think about those. Like, I didn't watch a lot of game trailers reviews back in the day, but I like don't remember Jones's voice from that era. I remember like current era Jones's voice from
weird.
Easy Allies. Yeah, it's super weird. I think I might have watched a lot of their reviews muted, and that's just like I fucked myself like so bad.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm stupid, Navish, and you know this. But again, like I have this weird kind of detached association with game trailers. It's mostly through you. But like any times I came to that site on my own, I was like doing it all wrong. I'm so bad at this. I've gotten better, I'd like to think, but food for thought there. You've also been playing Time Spinners.
Yeah, I think this is a game, a Time Spinner. For those who are not aware, Time Spinner is a Metroidvania-like, but it has got the sci-fi tone. And by Metroidvania, like I know it's a terrible term, but this is straight up like living by the Bible that is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like to the point that I think some save points had that little CD thing, like that's at the top. That is a weird thing, but I noticed it. Like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I am not that far. But let me I should get Donna Jo, my girlfriend, to come in here because she is way farther than that game. And she only likes like 4 video games, and I guess Time Spinner makes the 5th.
Okay. What are the other 4?
Spyro 2, and I guess Spyro 3, but I count those as one because it's the same genre. Mortal Kombat 9, Animal Crossing. What am I at? Is that 3?
That's 3.
Yes.
Okay. And I already said Spyro. Crash Bandicoot. There you go. Yeah, the first 3 Crash Bandicoots. That's all.
She just likes PlayStation 1 platformers.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
And I guess Croc maybe somewhere there.
She get her to play Tomba. I feel like if she likes Spyro and Crash,
she might have liked Tomba.
She might get way into Tomba. Finally,
or maybe the
someone
perspective
else.
would have fucked her up. I don't know.
Tomba's so good. You want to talk about Metroidvanias?
But yeah, so I'm not very far in it, but this is like, it is what I think Bloodstained now looks so much better than it did a few years ago, and I'm really excited for it. But in terms of like what I like looking at that original template, but also giving its own style through that sci-fi. Man, Time Spinner is scratching that itch. It is so good so far. I mean, I'm like 3 hours in. I think Dante's like 10 hours in or so.
Nice.
I'm playing on my Vita. It doesn't have cross save, unfortunately. It came out last year on Vita.
Jesus,
it's not on Switch yet.
I think that's PlayStation platforms only too, right?
Yes. And I think it's because they're in development on that game for such a long time, and it's sort of like, well, this is what we sort of made our bet on. So
yeah,
there it is.
It's a similar thing with the Hollow Knight guys because they're like, there's only 3 of us, so we're just gonna put on Switch first, and then we'll figure the rest of the stuff out later. Bear with us,
But yeah, it's got a really nice look to it. It looks really, really sharp. Fantastic music. That's the other thing. Like the music sounds like what I remember Symphony of the Night sounding like. Yeah, digging it a whole lot. I'm excited to play more of it once some of these obligations for content for the site are maybe out of the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Those are good video games. Nobishin. Video games.
Uh-huh. I didn't really play anything. So.
Okay. Anything that you thought about playing this week?
Well, like other than like the mainstays, like I'm still like going through like Crack of Time, so that's almost done. Still good, still holds up, still love it. Because like the stuff I've been playing, like it's just like stuff I've been playing for like, maybe like 5 minutes, so it's not really worth talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like I did fire up Final Fantasy 15, like I said I was gonna do. And I did on New Game Plus.
You should.
And I did on New Game Plus, but like I'm so overpowered in that game. I was like level 70 or something like that starting that, and like all the monsters are on level 1, so like I got really bored of it real fast. So like I just stopped midway through. So like like if I'm gonna replay that game, I should just play like fresh save or something like that. Like I'm assuming because like just to get more out of it, enjoy that world more. Like because like if I'm like like I'm doing monster hunts and like I just beat the monster in 5 seconds, I'm just wasting my time walking over there instead of like enjoying it like I used to just running over there. Or at least that's what makes sense in my mind. So
no, that does make sense. Yeah.
But yeah, like just pretty much that. Like Peggle 2's been weirdly my go-to game as far as like just other stuff to just have something my podcast game, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Burn a couple of minutes here and there.
Yeah. Just getting close to platinum to that. And
remember when that was an Xbox One exclusive? I do.
Yeah,
I do remember.
That's a weird thing.
It is weird.
Was that Xbox One and Xbox 360?
Yeah, that's what it
was. Oh yeah, shit. I forgot that was a cross-gen game.
But yeah, like as far as like something I'm looking forward to, like honestly, like I'm looking forward to playing that Team Sonic Racing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Too.
Are you getting Team Sonic Racing?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I have
really brought that game along.
I have a bet idea that I will propose to you. I mean, I guess I can propose it to you now. The idea for the bet that I thought was if we start a race on track 1, generic, just all default, and just hold the accelerate button, how long until you fall off an edge or hit a wall? I feel like that would be a good bet.
Okay.
Because none of us know anything. So, all right, I'll write that down then. I didn't know if you were going to get the game, so I didn't know if we could actually do that. But cool. I'll write it down. What I was gonna ask, where did this Shovel Knight bit start in your mind and brain and body?
I don't know. It's just like I get bored of work, dude. This is literally all it is.
For reference, Nabashin said that he can connect any video game character to Shovel Knight. Little did he didn't tell us ahead of time, though. It was just some character would eventually use Shovel Knight as an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and that's how all these stories end.
I mean, like, that's not like the end goal for everything, but like, because no one wants to like say a fucking indie title or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, because like, if you think about it, Shovel Knight is like weirdly connected to a lot of things. So it's like Shovel Knight's connected to the biggest game, which is like Smash Ultimate, which is across for everything. But at the same time, he's also like in Yooka-Laylee and Brawlhalla and stuff like that. So like he's also like this guest character, because you remember like a few years ago, like something like Dustin Elysian Tale. Like he like I remember like there's like cameos for like other indie games in that game. I think that's the one thing I remember from that fucking game. I should really play that game. But like I remember like Super Meat Boy's in that game, and the character from Braid's in that game and stuff like that. There's a lot of crossovers for like video games, especially with the indie space. And like I think like like when you think of like indie games, Shovel Knight's like kind of like the poster child for that. And like it's also like in this weird place where it's like it's not necessarily quote unquote AAA, but like because he's in Smash Ultimate, he has that link to there. So like it's just like something I thought about, and then like I was thinking about like characters and like, oh, I can actually make this work. And also I just wanted to play 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon,
of course,
but not Kevin Bacon. So yeah. I just need an excuse, and Shovel Knight was next.
I just like that Shovel Knight is the Kevin Bacon of video games. That's the narrative you've created. What a hero, truly a mascot to us all. And that the John Marston one is the best one for sure.
That one was a struggle. Cause the fun thing about it was, because like this was literally just from my memory of like me knowing stuff. Like it wasn't until like I think Harold asked me something about Bo Jackson or something like that, where I had to like look something up, because like I wasn't really too familiar with him, which was a bullshit bet. But I got the link.
Got the link.
But like yeah, like because like me remembering playing GTA online that one time and John Marston being an ancestor that one time, that's something I actually remembered. So all that stuff is just me remembering stuff. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And like with Superman, that Trevor sent me, it's like Superman was in Injustice with Raiden or Sub-Zero or something like that, and you can make connections with that. Or like he's in Lego games, you can make connections with that. And it's like, if you think about it, it's just fun. This is a fun dumb thing.
It is
my dumb mind.
Yeah.
So
what was the one I sent? It was Doom Marine. I thought I had you with that one too. Fucker.
I'm surprised I remembered that Skyrim reference.
Yeah, it was very good. And the thing is, because like I know you, I saw the tweets that you were sending out. I'm like, he's just doing this off the fucking top of the dome.
Yeah.
It was very good. Follow Nabashin on Twitter at Nabashin186. It's a pleasure. Okay, no video games per se then. I played a couple of things. Not a lot. We talked about Rage 2. Most of my time was in Persona 5, which I'll talk about in a second. I jumped back into Bloodborne. Been playing that with Justin Graffius, friend of the show. And that was fun. It was weird. It was weird going back to that game after playing like 90 hours of Sekiro, I will say. And I definitely was doing the thing where I was like hitting L1 trying to parry enemy attacks. I'm like, fuck, I gotta stop doing this. And like forgetting what button I used to heal. And to be fair, like I didn't appreciate how different Bloodborne's control scheme is to say like a Dark Souls, and how similar Sekiro's control scheme is to say a Dark Souls. But yeah, it was fun, and I had that review discussion with Scott White. We recorded that last night. And he asked me like, hey, when you went back to Bloodborne, did some of the habits that you picked up playing Sekiro, like outside of just hitting L1 to parry all the time, did that reflect back onto it? And they totally did, of like not looking for my echoes on the bloodstain or anything like that, because you don't pick them up in Sekiro. You don't drop the bloodstain at all. And it definitely had an effect on how I approached Bloodborne just in general. It was cool. Justin and I were playing through the Old Hunters DLC, and we got through the middle section, which is the clock tower.
I never finished it. I remember it being hard as hell.
Oh, it's hard, but it's so fun. And then we went and did the Lady Maria fight, and God, I forgot how great that fight is. And like going back and seeing it for the first time in years, it's like holds up just as much. It's so good. Fuck. And it looks so, just like the particle effects through that fight and everything are so great. And then we got to the fishing hamlet and kind of stopped.
I really wish they gave a pro update to that game.
Yeah, it does have some boost mode stuff in it, but
yeah.
Do you have a pro, George?
Yep, that's why I mentioned Rages at 60.
Okay. I was worried. Thought you were playing through that game at 30 frames, but which sounds super lame. Lamer than the game is on face value, which I only say mostly teasingly. But yeah, Bloodborne is still excellent, still a great game. Rage 2 we talked about. I bought all the Final Fantasy 13 games on Xbox because
I know you bought all of them.
yeah, I didn't send any of the other ones because I felt too ashamed.
You live in that X life, so I heard they look beautiful on there.
Yeah, I mean, I played through the opening of Final Fantasy 13, and I want to say this as someone who likes that game a lot. I would say the opening of that game is terrible. It's absolutely awful, and it's like almost inexcusable. Like, because I think about 13, and I think about all the things I like about 13. I like its characters. I think the coolest thing about 13 is that they really spent a lot of time with those characters, and they all have a full arc. And I think where that game leaves them, all 6 of them, is really cool, and they come together in a really, really cool way. And you get to spend a lot of time with just 2 characters at a time. And while Lightning is kind of like, in theory, the main character of that game, they do a good job kind of spreading the love out. Better than I would say other Final Fantasy games that I like. Like Final Fantasy 15, for example, right? Which is very much Noctis' story, and that's fine, but and that's what they're going for with that game. But the opening of Final Fantasy 13 has none of what is good about that game in it. It's flashy and over the top, and that's fine, but it's just like I was playing through it. I'm like, man, why did anyone play this game? Like, obviously, it gets very good as the game goes on, and the combat gets deeper and it gets more rewarding. But literally everything that is good about that game is not in the first hour of that game or 2 hours. There's nothing about like the true Final Fantasy 13 experience that you get in its opening moments. And that seems like unforgivable almost. Like, I forgot all of this. And going back, because the thing I have learned that I both love and hate about JRPGs, and especially of like that 2006 to 2012 era of JRPGs, is like, for no reason, they're like, we have to establish a small like book of vocabulary that is only for this game. And Final Fantasy 13 is far and away the biggest culprit of that. And they use things like Lassie and Falsy so casually and very intentionally don't set up what any of that shit means, so that way they can kind of introduce the story over time in these flashback sequences. And on face value, okay, sure, fine. I would say for a game that as flashy as it is, it's probably better for you to kind of start in media res and kind of pick it up as you go along. But if your opening of your game has none of what makes that game great in it, like it's literally like hallway, auto battle, hallway, auto battle, over and over again for an hour and a half, You can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't start throwing out some Lacies and Falsies and
Man, I remember that E3 trailer. They made the announcement as like 360, bitch. They put a long, like fucking like story trailer, and I was like, this looks hype as shit. I have no idea. It was like Girl Chan in Paradise. Like, you scared the Falsie are coming. You can't go over there. I was like, what is happening?
And it's just unacceptable. Like, because I think of like Tales of Vesperia, another JRPG I love. I love that game with my heart and soul, and it has tons of terrible vocabulary in it. Blastia and Entelekea is a word that people say a lot in that game, and that word has an X in it. I don't know if y'all know, and it is ridiculous. But Tales of Vesperia, I think, plants the seed of like you kind of get an idea of this kind of fantastical culture, and it's a little bit more casual. It's a very steady introduction of like, here's this character, he looks kind of cool. The water Blastia isn't working. I don't know what the fuck a Blastia is, but it's clearly important to this society. Like, they've given me like little bits of details that make me care about, or at least not completely dismiss the fact that they all care about some fucking thing called a Blastia. And yet Final Fantasy 13 is like, I don't know, there's a bunch of people on a train, there's purges happen. They use the word purge a lot in that game, which is, it's before the movie The Purge. And they're talking about Lacies, and nothing makes any sense, and the combat is irredeemably boring out the gate. When I know it gets great and it evolves in such a great way. It's just like, man, replaying through that opening changed my perspective on that game a lot. It brought me back down of like, man, I still love this game. I still think it's great. And I to some extent pushed back on a lot of the hate that game gets, because it was going for a different thing, and it wanted to be a linear game, and it embraced that. It's living in its truth. But the way they fucked up that game, they fucked up how they started that game. It very much felt like they were trying to capture the magic of the bombing run, but that like it is way easier to understand what is happening at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII than it is at the Final Fantasy 13. And the games are clearly very parallel to each other. Like, I think they're directly trying to channel what made that game great. And it's just so apparent that they did not get it. Like, they didn't understand what made the opening of Final Fantasy VII evocative and powerful and like super fun and super engrossing right out the gate.
It certainly looks cool.
It looks very cool.
It's some 360 PS3 next gen happy time hour.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it doesn't look as amazing as I thought it would on Xbox One X, because those like that era character models, like every time you go back you remember like, why does the skin look like paper? Like, why does all these characters' skin look weird? But it is cool. It's a cool game. It's, man, it was a come to Jesus moment.
I'll recommend a video to you.
Yes, please.
Check out Jurge the Completionist, and he has a video on Final Fantasy 13. It's called Defended. Like, it's a series called Defended.
Yeah, I
like,
remember his series. I've never watched that series, but
yeah, specifically watch that one. That one's really good.
Okay.
It's like him versus the internet. So like it'll be him defending Final Fantasy 13 versus the internet, basically.
Gotcha. And again, I like this game. In media res, I'm all for. But I feel like they didn't nail the delivery on this one. And a little bit of time has helped give me that perspective.
I don't think I've ever. I maybe played like a total of 3 hours of that game when I rented it from GameFly like years ago. So like,
that's
like
also
me,
what I did.
Yeah, like me, like giving that game a chance is like it's the JRPG pump, man. It's just like I just could not get into it.
To be fair, the hump in that game is about 9.5 hours long. So.
Oh yeah, I know.
And
cool menus.
It's got very cool menus. The thing is, like, a lot of people fought the argument of like, oh, it doesn't get good until you're 10 hours in, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it starts to to get really satisfying, maybe 4 or 5 hours in, which is still too long. But that's when they start. You have to start kind of paying attention during the combat, and you have to actually challenge yourself to play it strategically and to pay attention to your paradigms and things like that. But 10 hours in is when your party comes together, and then you can manually choose who the party leader is and set the characters in your party, which, like, I think in retrospect is way too long for what that game is. I think if they had just kind of played it a little bit more straight, and like, instead of starting on the train and flashing back to the kind of scene that led all the characters there, I think if they had just kind of started at that very beginning scene of where the story actually starts and played through, it might have worked out better. It might have been a lot slower of a start, but if by the time you got to the train, it was a little bit more, the combat was more intense and more open, I think it would have made that game better in the long run. But I don't know. Maybe they tried that.
Hope got better, right?
He does. He goes through like his whole arc. Like, it's just like he's like, I'm gonna kill Snow throughout like the whole first 8 hours of that game.
Yeah.
But then you get a really great moment with him when you're on the surface of Grand Pulse, where like each character has like a big story moment where they get their summon. And that was another thing that I really liked about that game, is each character has a summon, and there's like a story event associated with like acquiring that summon for that character to use. Hope's is Alexander, which is typically my favorite summon in the Final Fantasy games. She's just like a cool big robot. And his name's Alexander. And he goes through a really redemptive moment when that happens, and I really like it. So, but the thing is, after that point in the story, Hope doesn't really have a lot to do. So like they redeem him just in time for him to do nothing, right? And it's kind of lame until the end. Like, he has a moment. Everybody has a moment at the end. But and yeah, Persona 5 I've been playing. I am just about done. I've finished the second to last dungeon, like the last palace dungeon. And I'm kind of just playing my way through December at this point to get to the final stretch. Man, like, I don't know. And I know, George, you're very mixed on Persona 5. I don't necessarily want to like pick that apart at the moment, but going through it a second time has given me a lot of good perspective on it. And again, it is really kind of where I was with Tales of Vesperia before, of like, I really love this game. And I really am excited to see very specifically what they change when the Royal comes out. And I'm glad that I've played through it again to kind of have this more positive experience with it, and more like true to what I think it should have been the first time around, of kind of like a little bit less pressure on myself. I did different confidants this time. I tried to mix it up, tried to see some other stories through the end that I didn't see the first time around. Like, bummed out that I'm not going to finish. Like, I'm not going to see Yusuke's confidant end. I'm not going to see Ann's confidant end. But I got to see all Haru's story, which I didn't do before. And I actually really liked it. I really like her character. I really like her arc too. It's a shame they don't necessarily give everyone enough time to see it through. But I think she has like a really, like, her relationship with the protagonist is so different than your relationship with your other party members, and the way that you're kind of just like a really supportive friend, and like really that's all she needs. Right. Is like really, I don't know, it really hit home for me.
It's a good arc. I committed to the bit of hers as soon as she opened up. I knew I wanted to pursue her.
Yeah, and I'm like happy to say that there was a lot more there than what I expected. And I totally had like I tweeted out last night, I have a crush on everyone in Persona 5. But I really feel like that. I totally like had a total crush on her by the end of it, and it's so sad when you like if you reject
talking about
her.
Little Sisters again.
We're talking about Haru. Hey, you remember Haru Okumura? Who? Who?
I think Haru is my number one.
She's great. Like,
who's that?
She's the last character that joins your party.
Who?
She's got the fluffy hair. Her persona's name is Milady.
Oh, you mean that NPC that you never get enough time to talk to?
Yeah, her.
Oh.
I don't know, and like I'll say this, and maybe this is a hot take or not. I really, really like how a catchy story played out, and like having the perspective of where that story goes throughout it. Like I think when I played it the first time, I was so ready to just have him in the party, and I was like, whatever. Like I didn't have like the doubt that the player character is supposed to have. But obviously, playing through it a second time, I did, and it played way straighter to the lace for me, and it made more sense, and I was like more in the moment with it than like in where your player character's perspective and where their headspace is supposed to be, and I think that's kind of where they want you to be. I think the way that game opens is very much setting you up to, by the time you get to that point in the story, you know what's going to happen. But I kind of didn't until like they very much outline it very specifically the first time around. So like seeing it there and then seeing the little things about his character that stick out and then kind of getting his redemption, it worked way better for me the second time around than it did the first time. And I actually really liked his kind of journey, his arc, which I was, of all the things to gain from a second playthrough of Persona 5, that was not the one I anticipated.
I didn't know you didn't.
It's not like that I didn't like him. It was just I was more indifferent on him, right? I think he's a very easy character to hate, but I walked away not hating him, right? I walked away like empathizing with him a lot more, and the way they write his character and the way he talks to you and like the little bits of his ego that come through in those early interactions, I didn't necessarily appreciate. Like I didn't see that they were like showing you who he really was the whole time, but having like the kind of foresight of where it was going helped me see through it. And the thing is, like, you see someone who's like kind of really sad and kind of pushes everyone away a lot more, and it all clicked a lot more this time around. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
He's a very well written antagonist, and I think like I didn't appreciate the subtleties of how he's written. And there was a lot there. I think the way he talks to your character in particular, especially the way he disregards other characters of the party, the specific characters in particular too, is really good. Like they really knew what they were doing with him, and I just really appreciated that a lot more this time around. I wonder if his story is going to play out any different in the Royal. Because I think
that's what me and Scott talked about. Like, for the ones that he wants from the game, is just like a little bit more of a catchy.
Yeah, I think there's more time you can spend with him. There's more time that you can spend with all the characters for sure, which I know they're definitely going to embrace. But I think they leave the ending of his story ambiguous enough that they might do something new with it, and I'm curious to see what that is. But yeah, I don't know, man. That game is great. Like the whole the twist, like the first of two big twists in that game is like so good. And it gives me chills every time, and like going back through it and reliving it. I don't like that they lie to the player, but obviously I think the payoff is worth it. That's another thing that I bet they won't change that specifically, but I wonder if they would or if they thought about it. But yeah, it's very good. The November twist, and then kind of like the late twist, which I have not gotten to yet, but I'm very excited to. They're both very good. That game's phenomenal. I genuinely believe it, and every time I go back to it, I remember like how fucking incredible the music is. Like I just did that one fight where Rivers in the Desert plays, and every second that it's playing, I'm like, man, this game's fucking so good. But yeah, That's Persona 5. That's video games. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some news. We'll play a game from Silver PR that he sent in. We'll make some bets and we'll throw it out. So we will be back in just a little bit.
Choo choo choo.
Choo choo choo. Yo. News in gaming. Let's talk about some news. We had some Saturday news drop from Mr. Jason Schreier, which was fun for me. Probably stuff that y'all don't necessarily care about, but I thought it was interesting. Sounds like there's been some trouble in the development of Call of Duty 2020, as it's currently known. And it also sounds like Schreier's got some scoops on the development of Black Ops 4 that we're probably going to hear about in the next couple of weeks.
Huh. Interesting.
Sounds like there was probably a lot of crunch involved. He alludes to that in this article he posted today.
I imagine if they cut a whole thing and then had to commit to another thing.
Yeah, so the story from Schreier sounds like... so Sledgehammer was going to be developing the 2020 game, which is also anticipated to be the first cross-gen game, or the next cross-gen game for the new consoles that are presumably launching in the fall of 2020 as well, which might be why this happened. But Sledgehammer was not going to work on the 2020 game alone. They were actually going to be working with Raven, which Raven has been kind of a support studio for the Call of Duty games for a few years now. But they were essentially going to work as lead in tandem. But it sounds like they were not getting along. There's a lot of arguments back and forth. And also on top of that, the Sledgehammer co-founders were essentially ousted from the studio. They were, quote unquote, promoted to executive duties. But I guess they left Activision not long after that.
2K, right?
Yeah. Condrey, one of the Sledgehammer co-founders, Michael Condrey, started a new Silicon Valley studio with 2K, and then he just hired a couple of dozen ex-Sledgehammer employees, so they just started siphoning that team away. And apparently that studio has been hemorrhaging employees over the last few months, partly, it sounds like, because the development of Call of Duty 2020 is not going well, and they are not finding agreeable land to land on with Raven. So found out, I guess it happened this week. They're totally overhauling the 2020 game, and now Treyarch is taking over, and it's going to be presumably Black Ops 5. And I think a part of that is like Treyarch is kind of the point studio for them. Like if anyone was going to take over, it would be them. Obviously, Infinity Ward is launching a game this year, their game this year, which it sounds like is going to be some kind of Modern Warfare game, whether that be Modern Warfare 4 or...
I think at this point, Activision would make them. The last two offshoots have swung and missed for them.
Yeah, but it might not necessarily be Modern Warfare 4, but it's Modern Warfare something.
The Modern Warfare.
The Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare Ghosts. But...
Modern Warfare 4 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so that'll be a weird name, I guess.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare Air Force.
Modern 4. Tacthrin. Taken 3. Stop putting numbers in names. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So that just happened this week, possibly today to some extent. Although I don't know how much of it happened on a Saturday. But
has this been the latest like Call of Duty hasn't announced a game yet?
It might be.
It's close.
The NBA, it's usually during the NBA where they start teasing the NBA finals.
Yeah, they've always announced before the end of May. I know I can say that. At least officially unveiled. I feel like maybe not Black Ops 4, but the game before then. Maybe World War II, was that the game before then? I feel like they... was that Infinite Warfare? Maybe Infinite Warfare was before then. I don't know. One of those two, but I feel like they waited a long time for the game before Black Ops 4 as well. And maybe Black Ops 4 was announced in June. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I remember they had that announcement event where they announced Blackout and all that.
It was close to the event was close to E3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I don't know if it was fully in June or if it was still in May, but yeah, they usually announce before the end of May.
Right.
It sounds like, keep in mind, it doesn't sound like any of this has really affected Infinity Ward's game that's launching this year, but specifically next year's game. It also sounds like the Activision is exploring free-to-play options, and it's possible that there will be some free-to-play component to this year's Call of Duty. So, I don't know. There's very much been a kind of tapering off of post-launch sales for Call of Duty. I think it still does well up front and in its holiday season, but it's kind of the tail end of it where it has in the past sold well pretty much through the entire following year until the next Call of Duty comes out. But that has been less true of Black Ops 4.
I'd say the last few Call of Duties, it's been it's no longer a long tail. Like you see those, there used to be a point where those games stayed like a Nintendo effect, but they stayed at 50, 60. You see those drop to 40, 30 a lot sooner now.
Yeah. The game for 2020 was going to be a Cold War era game, likely involving Vietnam. It may still be that, but it will be Black Ops 5 now. So it sounds like, or will at the very least be a Black Ops game, and it will still have a campaign. So I can't speak necessarily, at least from this article, about the 2019 game, the Infinity War game.
So they got a year and a half on new hardware as well as current hardware. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of Treyarch employees are concerned about this because it's likely going to lead to a lot of crunch for them. But obviously, Call of Duty's been on a 3-year development cycle for a little while now, since 2012.
So that would probably means that whatever plans they had, it's either, well, it's weird because the curious thing is like, will this be the plans they already had in pre-production, or is this something completely new, or do they take what you just said that the Sledgehammer's working on?
So the quote I have from Schreier's article here, it says, according to those briefed on the overall, Treyarch will take creative leadership on this new Black Ops, with Raven and Sledgehammer will serve as support studios, transforming the work they've done on their own single-player story mode into a campaign for Black Ops 5, which will also be set during the Cold War. So they're very much directly taking what they already made, and they're going to just put that into whatever campaign turns out. But yeah.
Well, this is going to delay the one after that, then.
It might, unless Infinity...
Activision's just like, you fucked up the machine! This isn't a game! This is a fucking machine, man!
This is our money, man!
Bobby Kotick is getting fucking pissed.
Yeah, he's already
I was
pissed.
in Moneyball!
Don't you remember? I love your Bobby Kotick impression.
Crash Team Racing, 10 million copies.
It's not even their game. That's a Sega game.
Crash, though.
Oh, Crash Team Racing. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I thought you said Sonic Team Racing. I pulled some other news stories. One I thought was pretty sad and interesting is that Skull and Bones got delayed again. Initially, it was scheduled to come out in 2018, and then it was delayed to financial year 2019-2020, so April 1st through March 31st of 2020. And now it has been delayed to after that.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel like the game is being completely gutted and overhauled. I mean, I feel like Ubisoft doesn't cancel games a lot. I can't.
No.
I can't necessarily.
There's like that space game that they teased in Watch Dogs 2 that got canceled.
Yeah.
That's it.
But that wasn't even like really officially announced at any point.
No, it wasn't officially announced.
So they've got a relatively good track record. So this is, I don't know if this is going to get canned. And that's a weird spot to be in. But man, it feels like it is. So Skull and Bones will not be at E3 this year in any capacity.
Oh, okay.
On top of that,
the legacy of Connor Kenway lives on.
Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe. Which makes me feel like they might be adding more of a on the foot component to Skull and Bones. Which I don't necessarily
You on the ground?
like boots on the ground, not just ships, right? Because basically all that game was, from what I understand, was you walk around like your hub island, and then you're just a ship for the rest of it. It didn't seem like there was any like board enemy ships and take captives or fight captains or et cetera, et cetera. Kind of the stuff that in the ship combat and exploration in Assassin's Creed has been good that this is based off of. It is just the ship stuff. And I'll tell you, after doing a lot of that ship stuff in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which, to be fair, plays very differently, it plays more like the Origins ship stuff and whatnot, I do not want any more of it ever again, which bums me out. What'd you say?
You done with it?
Not Assassin's Creed as a whole. I think I'm still willing to give the kind of more RPG direction they've taken with it another shot.
I meant with the ship stuff.
But the ship stuff, boy, I'm fucking over it, dude. I do not like
that was the staple for years. Like, why did this
know? And like the thing was, I thought it was cool in 3. I thought there was too much of it in 4. But I liked the openness of 4, like, you know, going through the Caribbean islands and whatnot, and like little islets and how tropical it was. And I think at its peaks, Odyssey kind of channels those moments, but it very, very infrequently does that. And it's just like there's just like too much like going from point A to point B in Odyssey, and it's just I don't care about fighting other ships. I just don't care. I'm way more invested in the on foot, on the ground, fighting other dudes stuff, which I already had a lot of issues with in that game in particular. I think there was just the right amount of it in Origins, which were like these kind of pre-made sequences where you would be on the boat and going places. And I think that worked fine for the formula they've got now. But yeah, I just don't know if like Skull and Bones, at least for me, it is just totally uninteresting. But I don't necessarily know who that's for. I know the next Assassin's Creed is rumored to be like a Viking Assassin's Creed game.
More ships.
And that's obviously more ships. And maybe that's a different enough vibe that they can get something out of that for me. But I doubt
They're taking another break this year, right?
I think so. It sounds like it. It sounds like Ghost Recon is going to be their big fall game.
Well, they said that thing had 4 games that are unannounced that are launching in this financial year.
This fiscal year. So,
Watch Dogs 3.
Watch Dogs 3 is probably one of them.
Watchy Dog.
Steep 2 might be one of them, but I doubt it. And it sounds like there's a guy who's working on Splinter Cell that tweeted out that he's working on Splinter Cell. He's like, did you see this, George?
I did. I made a goof. I had a very popular tweet.
The guy then did a follow-up tweet saying, wait, don't retweet that. I might be in trouble.
Yeah, they were in a creative director's like outing or whatever the fuck. And yeah, like...
It's very funny.
Let me see. They got the people who make what was it? Trackmania. It's been a while since they've released a video game. Shootmania coming back.
Coming back finally. Yeah.
Fucking Child of Light 2. Wow.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
That's not happening.
Yeah, it's probably not happening. I hope one of those unannounced Ubisoft games is an UbiArt game, since we haven't had one in a while. But
dude, they're not doing that shit anymore.
Probably
That's
not.
Old.
Yeah.
Old.
Michelle
it's all about realistic bastards.
Yeah, Michelle Ancel is like, give me this Beyond Good and Evil 2 shit.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, tell him.
Yeah.
Wild? What was that?
Yeah.
That was an exclusive.
What was that? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, Wild doesn't exist.
They
what are you
showed
talking
at the
about?
State of Play, they had that game with like the animals, like, oh fuck, Wild's back, and like, nope,
nope, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft's doing great. Like, they're fine. Like, obviously, all of their games are selling well to some extent, and also
Starlink. I don't know how that did.
I think Starlink did well enough. It sounds like. I bet if they did it again, they would just make a Star Fox game.
Yeah, probably.
But like, you know, obviously Division 2 did very well for them. I'm sure Ghost Recon Breakpoint's going to do very well for them.
Yeah. They put out a Far Cry game this year.
Fuck. I honestly don't know how well that game did though. I feel like that might not have done super well. But it was also $40, so
yeah, it was $40. It's like $20 now, so it'll probably do well now actually.
Yeah, it you know, it might not have been that big a hit if it didn't do well.
But a budget title, it might do all right.
So and plus Rainbow Six Siege continues to do well for them.
Yep.
They're kind of
Rainbow Six Siege 2. Here it comes.
Their long-term games are doing very well for them. So
Rainbow Six Patriots. Here you go.
Yeah, finally bringing that one back. Mario Maker 2 had a Nintendo Direct this week, all focused on Mario Maker 2. What do you guys think of this? Nabishin, what were your thoughts?
Looks great. Can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. There was a moment watching that Direct where I was like, I might make some levels. I got a couple ideas from this. And I was like really excited about that. I'm like, again, I really loved what people did with Mario Maker, and I kind of, as time went on, I kind of felt the FOMO on that. And I'm really excited for, like, there's a story mode to some extent in Mario Maker 2. Doesn't look super like involved, but some kind of setting to play through the Nintendo made levels in that game could be fun. The thing is, I feel like there is such a need to make a crazy level in Mario Maker, and I don't know. I've never really seen like just a good Mario level made with Mario Maker. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure they're out there, but I feel like all the things I see about that game online are just like, look at this fucking weird big Bowser I made. And I'm like, well, I just want to play through like a good, well-made Mario level.
But I don't think you can have that though, because like I mean, sure, it can be there, but it's like there's nothing that can be really fleshed out because there's not a world map. A world map, of course,
Red
like,
Shoemaker dream.
yeah, basically. I think like for something like that, like it has to be spread out and like eventually be made into something like really big and cohesive, while just like doing just one level is just like, it's like the Little Big Planet effect, or even like something like Dreams. So it's like, oh, that's a cool thing. No, you can really say it's cool. You can't say it's really amazing or something like that.
But I'm confident that there are people just making solid levels out there, but those just aren't the things that are being advertised for that game. I'm in for the wackiness as well. Like, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's just something that I've been thinking about too. I wonder like how, like the Nintendo made levels, how do they compare? How weird are they? I didn't play them in the original Mario Maker, so I'm not sure.
They were pretty great.
So yeah, like that's the stuff I definitely want to see.
The best part of that game for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I like that. That would have been the reason I bought the first one. But yeah, I'm excited. Like they talked about tons of new stuff. What's interesting is the Super Mario 3D World palette is separate from the other four. And if you make something in that palette, it has its own kind of rule set, which I guess it's true to some extent with like the new Super Mario Bros. Palette, right? You can wall jump and whatnot in that palette, but you can't in the others. So it just, in this instance, like if you make a 3D World palette, it's like it's only going to be that. You can't convert that back and forth. Which I think is fine because they definitely showed off a lot of stuff in 3D World, and I really love that they adapted 3D World to like 2D platforming really, really well. That's the stuff, honestly, that I'm the most excited about. So I was texting Nabishin about it this week, and I was like, this is the closest I'm ever going to get to a 3D World 2. I recognize that. I'll take it anywhere I can get it. But what's cool about that is like the menu that they showed, the four main palettes. It's like a whole separate area with the 3D World palette. So it means maybe there will be other kind of unique rule set palettes that maybe they'll add as DLC down the line, or maybe that they've already added that they're just not talking about yet. I feel like they would have talked about them if they're in the game from the get-go, though, at least during this Direct. But people have been throwing around the idea of like a Paper Mario palette, which I'd be a big fan of. Yoshi's Island obviously would be great. The big one, Mario 2, Doki Doki Panic. Not Doki. Is Doki Doki Panic? Is that it?
Yeah. Doki Doki.
Yeah.
They announced that E3 tournament. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, they're doing an invitational tournament for this. They did it the kind of same thing, but for Smash Brothers last year. Now it's going to be people making and sharing levels. That's cool. I think that's really cool.
Very exciting.
And obviously, some people out there are just so fucking good at playing Mario. And prove that with the levels they made and the levels they completed in Mario Maker. I'm just stoked. I'm very excited for like Game Grumps to play this. Like it's gonna be a great time, I think.
They did this like 2015 at E3, and it was the hype as shit. It was great.
Yeah,
Loved it.
Yeah, they're doing everything right with Mario Maker 2, which is good. It's a good feeling. The one thing that they didn't talk about was if levels from the original are going to come over. I'm going to just assume that they're not going to. I feel like they would have said so if that were the case. But I think there's definitely going to be room for folks to recreate kind of the best of those levels and bring them into Mario Maker 2.
They didn't talk about Amiibo.
They didn't talk about Amiibo, but you will need an online membership in order to download and play levels online and share your levels online. So, what's cool is they are selling a bundle version of Mario Maker 2. It's $10 more, and it has 12 months of online. So you get that $10 off pretty much. They also announced
if you have Twitch Prime, you have Nintendo Online.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you are listening and you haven't realized that, go check that out. And if you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime, and you have Nintendo Online. So go figure that out. They also announced like this weird voucher thing. Basically, you can just buy 2 Switch games digitally for $100 instead of $120. That's cool. I hope they do stuff like that. More in the future.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
I think. That's how I feel about it.
I buy all of my games digitally now. I don't care. I don't want to ever go to a GameStop ever again in my life. So that's kind of like my stance on it.
Well, my main thing is just like this wouldn't have to exist if you guys didn't have an iron grip on your pricing for your games.
Yeah, it's true. It doesn't make it makes much less of a difference with like Nintendo games in particular.
Yes.
What I saw this while I was looking for news too. I thought it was cool. The Switch passes the lifetime sales of the PlayStation 4 in Japan, which is crazy. I don't think it's surprising. Obviously, the market in Japan is very different than the one in the U.S. But the Switch has officially sold 8.13 million consoles in Japan, which is very good for Japan, I will say, in just over 2 years. And the PlayStation 4 in its 6 years, almost 6 years, it's 5.5 years, has sold 8.07 million units. So it's not a huge margin there, but I thought that was cool. It's it speaks to how well the Switch is selling just in general, but obviously like it's cool that for a while Nintendo has not necessarily made they've made their consoles for a Western market in mind. And this is something that kind of appeals to all their markets and everyone in general because the Switch is great. So I don't know. I thought that was cool, and it's a big win for Nintendo. Then this other story happened, kind of like in the middle of this week. That's just I don't necessarily know how to feel about it. I feel like it's maybe not as big a deal as everyone's making it out to be, or maybe it is. I don't know because it's just a weird thing. Sony and Microsoft announced that they are starting a partnership for cloud services, which we in our Irrational Passions Slack we talked about Sony and Microsoft teaming up to fight the big Google, the big man upstairs who's watching all your Google searches. And they put out like this cute little photo of the two directors like shaking hands. And the two they were tweeting, like Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella were both tweeting out about the partnership and very excited about going forward with it. The agreement is for like joint cloud solutions to things. One of the things that they brought up in particular was artificial intelligence. Which, I don't know, they say artificial intelligence a lot here as opposed to AI, which makes me feel like they're talking about like real artificial intelligence as opposed to like kind of game AI to some extent. But, in short, Sony's going to be using Microsoft's Azure platform or Azure. I don't know what.
Azure, I believe it's called.
What people's preferences on that is.
Podcast ads I've heard tell me it's Azure.
Okay. I've heard it both ways, and that's like for content streaming. They don't mention PlayStation Now here, but they do talk about semiconductors and artificial intelligence. I don't know how semiconductors play into this necessarily. The quote I have here, which is a pretty good quote. It's from Kenichiro Yoshida, who is the president of Sony, he said, PlayStation itself came about through the integration of creativity and technology. Our mission is to seamlessly evolve this platform as one that continues to deliver the best and most immersive entertainment experiences, together with a cloud environment that ensures the best possible experience anytime, anywhere. For many years, Microsoft has been a key business partner for us, though, of course, the two companies have also been competing in some areas. I believe that our joint development of future cloud solutions will contribute greatly to the advancement of interactive content. Sony has always been a leader in both, and this from Satya Nadella, who is the Microsoft CEO. Sony has always been a leader in both entertainment and technology, and the collaboration we announced today builds on the history of innovation. Our partnership brings the power of Azure and Azure AI to Sony to deliver new gaming and entertainment experiences for customers. It's cool. It sounds like it's mostly kind of cloud computing,
Yes.
as opposed to cloud destruction, something Crackdown 3, as opposed to like actually cloud-based gaming. But I think that's cool, and I think cloud computing has obviously been a thing Microsoft's been thinking about for a while, and they've been developing with xCloud and whatnot. So it definitely seems like a reaction to Google kind of threatening to take over the world.
Yeah.
But it's smart.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. It is kind of an open door for them as a whole too. Like, I know this is going to kind of affect games, but it's not necessarily a partnership between their games divisions. But I think it could very easily lead to more collaboration between the two. That's good. That's a good thing. Like, it's super weird to see like this year where Cuphead is just published by Microsoft on Switch, and also a year where Microsoft and Sony are trying to find cloud-based solutions to technological problems. So it's a good year for collaboration. That's it. That's all I pulled for news.
Okay.
Good. Video games might be okay. Might be doing all right. We're in the, kind of the lull before the storm to some extent. We got
Judges Week was this week.
Yeah, Judges Week. Some secrets they've happened. They're out there. People have played games that we will see announced in a few weeks, which is exciting. But
It's gonna be a weird E3. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very weird E3 in general, just without PlayStation there. And I think we're going in with a lot of unknowns. Like, we haven't quite gotten to the time period where things are gonna start leaking viciously. Ubisoft's already been, they had 3, that announcement of 3 unannounced games leaked. And, they did this weird Breakpoint stream, which is very much seems like, hey, let's talk about this here so we don't necessarily have to talk about it at E3. We got the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer with the promise that we're going to get more at E3.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Quiet Man 2, very excited.
Quiet Man 2, finally the game you've all been waiting for. So, let's take a peek in the mailsack. You can tweet your questions at Irrational Pod, have them read on the show. Just use the hashtag IPQ, or look for my tweet on Saturdays and Fridays. You can respond to that with IPQ, and we'll get it in there.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
Dino Run 2 has a World of Goo mask and also has a Shovel Knight mask. So there you go.
Damn. I would have never thought Dino Run 2. I'll be honest with you, Nawishin.
I never heard of that game, so I had to look that up. So
there you go.
Know.
But there is a connection.
Yeah.
It continues. It doesn't look like we got any tweets this week, but we did get an email, and you can email us, mailsack@irrationalpassions.com is the email address. We actually got this last week from Silver PR. It is the second iteration of his game that he sent us a few weeks ago. I'm very, very excited to see how poorly you all do. Although I think, George, you're going to be very good at this. So last week, this is from Silver PR. He says, last time you guys played Guess the Video Game Quote. This week, Ad Blurbs Trivia is back. I think we did do this a few months ago. Rules are simple. First to guess wins a point. For reference, all games this week are from the PlayStation 1 era. Good luck.
Okay.
He does apologize for any grammatical errors. So these are, I guess, ads for these games. I have the names of the games. The PS1 era is going to be tough, I'll be honest. I'm looking at these games. We'll see. This fast and fierce arcade fighters got everything you want and more. Ferocious 3D, brutal combos, unforgettable characters, more ways to maim, crush, and devour your enemies than ever.
Devour your enemies.
A lot of good hints in there.
It's a fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation 1.
This is a good one. I would most of these I would probably never get.
No, that's not a fighting game.
Do you have anything that much in?
Primal Rage.
No, but I feel like that's close.
Yeah, I don't know if that came out the PS1. I'm just gonna throw it in and say Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Bloody Roar.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This sequel of the most original and realistic fighting game, bigger, better, and more brutal than ever. No life bars, no time limits, no mercy. Let's say it.
Bushido.
Bushido Blade 2?
Yeah. I would not have gotten that one.
I saw a copy of Bushido Blade at a local store. $25.
25 whole dollars.
Yep.
This one there's a hint in the first line here, but I want you to maybe listen to the whole thing and then maybe take a stab at it then. I've never heard of this game, so first there was Raccoon City. But unknown to the rest of the world, another town is also mutating into a chaotic nightmare from the deadly T-virus. Attempting to flee the carnage, a solitary helicopter loses control and crash lands in the heart of the chaos. As one lone survivor comes to, the sound of screaming and other monstrous sounds surround him. Dazed and unsure where he is or why he is there, he embarks on a nightmarish adventure where cunning and quick reflexes are the key to survival. This is pretty easy. Just shout it out if you got it.
No, I was gonna let Nabishin go. Actually, I really want to own this game. I got a bootleg version working once. Is it Resident Evil Survivor?
Correct. I never heard of Resident Evil Survivor.
Yeah, it's a first-person Resident Evil game.
Huh.
For the PS1. I think it came out 2000?
Yeah, it's 2000. He has the years in here too.
There's one of those games now that maybe I'll find a job that pays a little bit better, and I don't have a child. I may buy that bullshit video game.
To be clear, your child is your dog.
That's true.
I just want to make sure everyone knows that you're not actually... You're the father of a very proud dog.
That's true.
For young swordsman Cress Albane, it wasn't a typical day out hunting in the nearby woods. He had no hint of the tragedy unfolding back home. That's one bullet point of 2. If you want the second one, I'll give it to you. Although I don't think it's going to help you anymore.
Yeah, I need more.
When Cress returns to find his village in ruins and his parents killed, he sets out on a quest through time and space to uncover the villains responsible for the horror.
Time and space.
I've never heard the description for this game, and it makes me want to play it more.
Time and space.
Dun, 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 dun.
Brave Fencer Musashi. I don't fucking know.
That's what a deep cut. I've never even heard of that. Tales of Fantasia.
Oh.
They straight up just say Cress Albane in here. Maybe I should start editing these. As Special Agent Ashley Riot, your mission is to infiltrate the City of Evil, Leamonde. Use your stealth and combat skills to overcome the great dangers awaiting you in this mysterious world and master the art of magic to uncover the truth behind the political intrigue. Truth is in quotes there. Silver PR also has like a note here that says, in my opinion, this was the Dark Souls before Dark Souls came to our lives.
Well, so then I would have said this is like Kingsblade, but it's not, or whatever the hell that game's called. Because that's literally they're literally PS1 games. There are the Dark Souls before Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's not that though.
Okay, can you give me a genre? Do you even know what this?
I think it's action adventure.
Sure.
I'll give you a big hint. Starts with a V.
V. Oof, I don't know a lot of V PS1 games apart from Vigilante 8. Oh.
It's not that.
Fuck. Vampire Hunter D. I don't fucking know.
Vagrant Story.
Oh yeah, that's a Jerry Green. I know nothing about Vagrant
That
Story.
is a Jerry Green game. If he were listening, he'd be pissed. He might be.
Yeah, he would be pissed. It's his favorite video game of all time.
Yeah. So he says. I don't know. I don't know. Has Jared even played that game recently? As the isolated port town of Parm awakens to the advance of an industrial revolution, Justin, son of an adventurer, likewise blooms with his own spiritual energy. This sounds very sexual. Gaining his power through the Spirit Stone given to him by his father, Justin heads off on an incredible journey to the land of magic and monsters. Dare you follow? These are great ads. I love these. These almost sound like back-in-the-box quotes.
I'll say this is a JRPG.
Yes.
It's a dumb, bad JRPG.
I don't know if it's dumb and bad. I think a lot of people like this game. I'll say, like, this one I feel like gets referenced with Suikoden of, like, a game that I hear about all the time, but I've never played.
Wild Arms?
No, that's a good one, though.
Xenogears.
Not Xenogears. Grandia.
Ah, fuck. Okay.
I love how much you're taking this personally, George. I want you to know.
Yeah, I am, because I love the PS1. Yeah.
These are good. These are good. This is a good way to give you some perspective on it. Assume the role of Herbert Wallace, an escaped test subject, on the trail of demonic scientist Dr. Adam Crowley. After enduring years of... No one knows these names, which I love the most. After enduring years of horrific lab experiments, Wallace is out to settle the score in a chilling and bloody chase through London and Paris.
Oh, fuck, I know this game.
Little does he know that exacting revenge on Crowley is also the last hope to save the world from a nightmarish demise.
Is it Nightmare Creatures?
It's Nightmare Creatures 2.
God! Shit! God damn it! Oh my god.
I'll say you get the point on that one. You earned it for sure. And this is why I was so excited to have George.
I want to play that game.
Yeah, it sounds alright. Alright, this is the last one. This one I think you guys will get. I'm trying to see if there's stuff that I should omit from this description. I guess we'll go with it. A curse has fallen Sumeru City, a town in modern-day Japan. The curse is placed by a mysterious person who calls himself the Blank. I'm going to edit that name out, so I think it is a hint. Rumors say that he can fulfill people's wishes, but also does something horrible to those who for some reason fall to express a wish. Oh, that's a weird sentence. This will give away. A group of high school students decides to investigate the matter. However, when they confront the Blank, he tells them that they have hurt him in the past and that he is out for revenge now. The young people realize that the Blank's appearance is just the beginning of a sinister chain of events and will have to look for answers within their own souls. You guys fucking know this.
Persona.
It is a Persona game. Do you know which one?
Revelations Persona?
No.
This Persona 2, the second one.
Eternal Punishment.
Yeah, not got it. Persona 2, Innocent Sin.
Innocent Sin.
The word I omitted was Joker because I thought it was too on brand with Persona.
Is that
5.
the one that came to America or the one that didn't come to America?
I don't know. I think the second one is the one that didn't come to America.
Because there's two twos.
Yes, there's Innocent Sin and Revelation.
No, Revelation's the first one. So it's Eternal Punishment and
Eternal Punishment. Yeah, that's the other one. And Innocent
Something like
Sin.
that. I don't know.
No, Eternal Punishment's it.
Okay.
Let me make sure. Blah blah. No. Okay, cool.
I got one here for us since I'm holding a PS1 box right now while I was looking at it. You don't just play it, you live it. The most vague fucking. It could be any video.
You
game.
don't just play it, you live it?
Yeah, that doesn't make any goddamn
table
sense.
tennis?
Actually. No.
Am I close?
No. This is Neversoft Spider-Man for the PlayStation.
Oh
1.
yeah, you got that today. Should have
I
known.
did.
Live the Spider-Man. Thank you, Silver PR. That was so much fun.
That was great. I love that. Nightmare Creature. Shout out to that.
Yeah, I'm glad we could
I'm
get
gonna
George.
look
in
up
on
how
this
much a
one.
copy of Resident Evil Survivor costs.
How
Probably $23.
How do I get this game now? Thanks everybody for writing in. Remember, you can send your questions to us, the Twitters, the emails, and we also have voicemail 404-590-1337. A couple of things before we close out the show here. If you like the show, follow the show on Twitter at Irrational Pod. George, you run that account. You do a lot of work there.
Yay! At Irrational Pod. Hi.
You redesigned the banner and the look of it recently. It looks great.
I gotta change that pinned tweet at some point.
Yeah, we should update it. I think we'll have a good opportunity to update it soon. And also on Instagram, Irrational Passions. George also works really hard on that. And you should check it out because it's super cool. Some other stuff. If you like this show, please rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. There was an error. I think I mentioned it last week, but there was an error with the RSS feed where it was like removing the show a day after it posts. It was some weird expiration date thing, but it's resolved now. So podcast is going up normally and everything is fine now. So please rate and review us wherever you're listening to it. Check out our other shows like Inputs, which George is actually a host on, and Video Game Book Club. We just put out BioShock 2 Part 2, which was really great. It was really good. I've really been enjoying going back and looking back at that game. It's very...
How are you playing it, by the way, Alex?
I'm playing the remastered on PS4.
Gotcha.
So it's 60 FPS, which is nice. Yeah, I don't know. That game is like we talked a lot about like sequels of the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. Like 2s of that era are super weird, I think. We've had a lot of good conversations about that in particular. And for everything else, Irrational Passions, check out irrationalpassions.com. And if you like George, you should follow him at jcruzalvarez26. He's a good boy. Here's the thing. If you drop the Alvarez from your branding, you're going to have to change your Twitter handle.
That is very true.
It's time to start thinking about it, George. We've reached the end of the show, which means is now time for bets. And somewhere in the distance, you hear Tony echoing bets. This week's bet, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again here. In Team Sonic Racing, we're going to pick a default track or all the defaults, whatever the first track is, with all the default characters, default teams, whatever. Super default. We're going to keep it as default as possible.
Okay.
If we just hold the accelerate button, how long until the player cart falls off the edge or hits a wall?
I'm going to say the first level will probably be Seaside Hill, and that level has like little roundy thing. I'm going to say 45 seconds.
I'm going to say 13 seconds.
I'm gonna say 5 seconds.
Excellent. That's a good bet. I'm proud of that one. Last week's bet, how many times, I'm very excited about this one, how many times will the Rage 2 Twitter account send tweets, like how many tweets? I don't know why I phrased that so weirdly, between last week's podcast, the end of last week's podcast, and this one. These are standalone tweets. I said 48. Navashin said 10. Scott said 8. Let's find out. Can you guys fill air while I count these tweets?
Yes. While we're doing that, maybe I'll look up how much Resident Evil Survivor now.
I've never even heard of Resident Evil Survivor. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like a whole mini series. There's a lot of them. Because there's that Dead Aim game for PS2, which was like on a boat, and you played as some scruffy guy. In Japan, there was like a first-person version of Code Veronica that was only exclusive to Japan. And I guess in some way a spiritual successor was those Wii games, but those are on rails.
There's a lot of retweets. I'm pretty bummed about the number of retweets here.
Bridge 2, yeah, let's go! We fucking gutted a Dreamcast for the bit and fuck off. Leave the Dreamcast alone. There's one less Dreamcast out in the world now. Sickos.
There's a lot more.
I actually found a broken Dreamcast when I was a little kid, and I think I just stuck crayons in it or something.
It was
already broken.
There were 16. I definitely overshot it with 48. I was definitely thinking about ad replies too. But we
Did Andrew WK at all interact with them?
Doesn't look like it.
Probably not.
Does not look like
it.
But yeah, 16 was more than I thought there would be, but that means you took it, Nabishin. Fuck.
Resident Evil Survivor cost $31.16.
You're not far off. $8 off is not bad.
If without a case, $16.13.
That brings Nabishin and Scott's team of Team Doubling Down up to 5 points. Congratulations. Team About to Bust a Bet. Still rock hard at 7 points. Jurge, your team's name is Team Super Pink Girl Power. The editorial / guest team. And you all have 3 points.
Yay.
You can change the name if you want to.
You have the opportunity to change the name if you would like to at this point.
Nah, I can't think of anything. I like it.
Okay.
Pink Power Ranger from Power Rangers movie 2017. I don't fucking know.
Cool. That's it. That's the end of the show. Thanks for coming on, Jurge.
Yeah, it was great. Shout out to Solar PR for that fun game. That was a very me game.
Yes, it worked out perfectly. Thank you to Danny Wiesner for opening music of Two Player Co-op and our closing music of The World is Saved. Thank you everybody who tuned in live. Folks coming in, dropping out. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who gave us a listen. We really love and appreciate you very much. Thank you to Tony and Scott for wherever they are, hopefully getting some sleeps. I think Scott's probably studying for his exams, but hopefully Tony's getting some rest. I didn't mention that he left.
Oh yeah, we did it.
And he went to go rest. So,
Final word.
Final word. Do you have a final word, Nabishin, since you won the bet?
Perspective is nice. Having a good perspective. Like if you play everything as you would, or most people consider it just all 10s and 9s and stuff like that, eventually you would get to a point where like a 9 wouldn't be good enough for you. So like, just expand your horizons.
Sometimes you gotta go to methadone instead of
just like expand your horizons and try different things. Sure, $60 is a lot of money, but like games could go on sale for like $5 in like a couple of months. So just be smart and you'll find something.
And everybody fucking chill. All right.
Team Sonic Racing, $40.
Really?
Good value. Yes, $40.
That's smart. I didn't know that. That makes me feel better about it. I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's gonna get crashed, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, which will also be $40.
Well, I think that's also $40 actually, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it's probably
my ultimate bet. Team Sonic Racing is gonna be better than Crash Racing. That's my bet.
Damn, a lot of people love that game, Jurge.
Is Blessing is going to tweet out that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is better than Detective Pikachu.
That wouldn't be very hard, to be honest with you.
Damn. I want to see that movie.
It's
all right. It's all right.
Yeah, I might see it tomorrow. We'll see.
Makes me feel good.
That's good.
Hate hearing it.
You hate hearing it?
I don't like Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I'm sorry.
I like Ryan Reynolds in general. I don't know if I like him in that role per se, but we'll see. It's weird.
That's a podcast.
That's a podcast. Thanks everybody so much for listening. Thank you, Nabishin. Thank you, Jurge, for hanging in there to the end. And thank you, Tony and Scott, wherever you all are. I love you all. Big hugs all the way around. I've been your host, Alex O'Neill. Play your games. Stay rational. We'll talk to you all next week. Jurge, keep recording for this part. You're ready. I guess yes. I am like the de facto third title reader, I guess. Titles.
Uh-huh.
we're like 20% friends. What? Oh yeah, that was what Tony said.
Yes.
It's a good.
That's what I said about it.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's a good. I like that. I gotta use that one. Way of the Sirloin. The point is you tried, but you didn't with Bayonetta.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Shovel Knight is the Kevin Bacon of games. It's also pretty good. I really like this. The point is you tried, but you didn't with Bayonetta, just because it got a good belly laugh from everybody. I mean, I'm biased though. What do you like, George? What do you want the title to be?
I like it. It's just long.
I mean, welcome to half of our titles.
Oh, is it? I guess it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's very on brand to let you know that George is.
Yeah,
So.
This is a George Cruz podcast. You like a nomination?
Yep.
Let's do it. All right, I'll say the title. George, I'll write up here
Locked.
what I want you to write.
Okay.
Or say, I should say.
Yeah. I forget that PlayStation 1 discs are black.
Really? I forgot that too.
Yeah.
And the beginning of PS2 discs were blue for a while.
Purple.
I remember
yeah.
the blue, purpley discs. Indigo, if I may.
I remember them because at a certain point, the PS2's like CD drive fucking started sucking, and so those discs were harder to read sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, George. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Ready.
I wrote it in the bold. You read that.
Oh,
part.
I thought you said the Irrational Passions, and then do I just say like the episode and that's it? Okay, cool. All right, gotcha. You're listening to the Irrational Passions Podcast, episode 424.
The point is, you tried, but you didn't with Bayonetta. That's good. That's good. This is a good podcast. I like this show that we do. You can stop recording now. Thanks everybody for watching. We love you all. Have a very good night.